Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing today? On this wonderful Valentine's Day, this wonderful day of love. How you doing, Sister Rhonda? Hope you're having a great day. We'll give a couple seconds, see if we're going to get anybody else join the party. Now go ahead and get started. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Did Brother Mike spoil you today, Sister Rhonda? I hope he did. Devil tried to spoil my girls. Hope they enjoyed it, because it definitely broke me. No, we didn't do the whole lot. Just give another minute or so, then I had to go ahead and jump into this. I appreciate you being here. Got my charger just in case. I was running just like a minute or two behind, so get everything plugged up and in order. All right. So again, happy Valentine's Day to you all out there. I hope y'all had a good, wonderful Valentine's Day. And if you ain't got nobody that love you, tell you happy Valentine's, I'm gonna tell you happy Valentine's. I'm gonna tell you I love you, even though it's more of a brotherly, Christianly love type of love. But I hope everybody had a wonderful day. And I thank you for being here with us with me today. Of course, I'm Brother John Stewart on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministry, on behalf of River Lake Baptist Church. And you had some chocolates. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. He spoiled you, loaded. And I know y'all been together so long. It's probably just kind of another day kind of thing, Kind of like me and Rez Against the Poor. It's more really, of course, I spoil Rez, do what I can for her, but it's really more about the girls, taking care of the girls and just making them feel loved today. So I understand that. So that's awesome. But like I said, I'm here today on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministry, River Lake Baptist Church, and I'm here today. Today, y'all know it's a special day for me, special week for me. Today marks 18 years since the beginning of my change in my life. 18 years ago, right at 18 years ago, I gave my life to the Lord, and He called me to preach. And it was tomorrow make the day I actually got the call to preach, and then Thursday make the day I actually made the decision, so to speak. So it's a special day. So, of course, if y'all watched the video last week or you saw my post earlier today in honor of that special day, that special event in my life, one of the most important events that ever happened in my life, in honor of that day, I'm going to share my testimony today. So we won't get into the word as much today, but we will see the word, living the word out through the life that I live, and a lot of things, the concepts that the Bible teaches, we definitely will be able to see here tonight. So I'm doing a little different. Usually I have an intro, but it ain't no intro tonight because I'm just going to tell my testimony. So I'm going to go ahead and pray, and then I just jump into it. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us today. Thank you so much for letting us have this good day, Lord. Let me have a good, safe day at work and getting to make it back home safely so I can come here tonight and share this testimony and tell this wonderful story of how you rescued me from the path I was on, brought me back into the fold when I was straying away from you, Lord. You have been calling me really my entire life. You have been calling me. I felt your hand upon me, but I just had that urge to do what I wanted to do instead of doing what I was supposed to be doing. And because of that, Lord, I was going down a dog path, and it almost ended terribly until you stepped in and intervened and gave me one last chance, Lord. And I thank you for giving me the wisdom to see that. Thank you for giving me the wisdom to make the decision to put my faith and trust in you and start living for you instead of myself. And I thank you so much for using me over these last 18 years to do the work that you've had for me to do. So I just pray you just watch over me tonight. Let your spirit come down upon me as it did that night when you called me to preach, Lord. And I pray you let your spirit come down upon me and use me tonight to share this testimony with others, Lord, so I can maybe continue to do the work that you have for me to do. And also maybe others will see this testimony and realize that they're going through some of the same things and realize that you also have a plan plan for their lives as well, as you have for my life. So I just pray you just be with us tonight as we go through the session. Again, let the people open their hearts up and receive the words that's been spoken here tonight, and just use these words, use this testimony so we can defeat the devil. We love you and thank you for all you've done and given, and I say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, give me a sip of this high quality H2O. So, again, tonight, like I said, tonight is February 14th. It started my journey, and I'm going to get to it here in just a second. One of the very important days in my journey to find the Lord, to really find the Lord and really get into where I am now, serving the Lord. And that's why I want to share my testimony. Of course, my actual day is the 17th, which is Thursday. So, the Bible, the words of God tells us that there's two things you need to defeat the devil. And it's the blood of the Lamb, which of course is the blood of Jesus. That's why Jesus came down and made the sacrifice, died on the cross and shed his blood so we can be forgiven of our sin, and the word of our testimony. And those are two very important things, the blood of Jesus and the word of our testimony. And our testimonies are so, and the thing is, something that we don't realize, and this is the devil used against us, is how powerful our testimony is. Because the Bible said that's how you defeat the devil. And that's why I know a lot of church people like, well, you should go to church, you should go to church every day. You should do this, you should do that. If you really say you do this and do that, those things. And those things are good to do. Yes, they help you build a relationship with the Lord. But more importantly, what it does, it helps strengthen your testimony. And it keeps your testimony, strong so you can have a strong weapon when you go out there and do God's work. Because y'all know my ministry is a lost sheep ministry, and so my ministry is looking for those people who might not even be looking for God or don't realize that they're going through what they do going through because they don't have a close relationship with God. So a lot of times I go in rough areas. I preach in the jail many times. And that statement that the Bible makes, that word of God that the Bible makes when it says we defeat the devil by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, I've seen that so many times. And that's why I every year I had to bring my testimony forward, because the ministry been growing, and there's some people that is watching the videos now that wasn't watching a year ago. So I always want to make sure I get the opportunity to share my testimony and let people kind of know where I'm coming from, why I do this ministry the way I do it, and then why I say the things I say and do the things I do. It wasn't something I just went to school for or I do just to feel good about myself. This is something I do because the Lord called me to do it. And I want to share with y'all my upbringing and the things I went through and the road that I went down to get to this point where I'm at now. So when I go through my testimony, any of y'all know that when I sign things, I always sign with Romans 8:28, and that's my to me that's my life verse. And again, we're gonna see that come up as we go through the night. And Romans 8:28 says this. It says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them who love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose." And of course, y'all have heard me preach on that several times before and bring that verse up several times before, and that's because a lot of time, and you'll see as I go through my testimony, a lot of stuff that happened to me and a lot of things I went through, I just really couldn't understand why. Because I always felt like I was a good person, but I felt like I was being picked on. I never understood why until I really understood that verse. And that verse really hit me because it all worked out for good. Everything that I went through brought me to the point that I am today. Because of what I went through, I am who I am today. I'm able to do the things I am able to do today. And even if the Lord took away any one of those things, I would have been a completely different person, the good and the bad. So that's why you can't really say anything is bad, especially if you grow from it and you learn from it and you grow from it. It makes you a wiser and a stronger person. So that's my life verse. And as I get to the story, y'all see why I chose that verse, because of the things I went through. So I'm starting from the beginning. Of course, y'all know, anybody know me knows I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, North Memphis, North. That's where I'm from, born and raised. I lived in Memphis for first 17 years of my life. Started over in North Memphis. And of course, anybody from Memphis, you say Memphis, but if you're from Memphis, you got to specify which area you're from. And I'm from North Memphis. Started off over there in North Memphis. My mom had me when she was 14. She got pregnant with me. She was 14. My mom got pregnant when she was 14, had me when she was 15. And my dad, he was toward the end, he was about a few months older than my mom. So they were both 14. I think he was 15 when she got pregnant with me. And then he was 16 by the time she had me. So they had me. I had really young parents. really very young parents. They were basically still kids themselves. I mean, even now, you know how they give you the when you put out applications or stuff, they like between this range and this range. I'm in the range of my parents because that's how young they were. So of course, with them being so young, there was a lot of responsibility to be put on them at such a young age. And y'all seen the teen moms and things like that. It's very hard, and they were still young themselves. But they did their best. My mom, she did her best for as long as she could, and eventually life got to her. And with my dad, honestly, I don't feel he really tried at all. My mom, she did everything she could for me until she eventually ended up getting addicted to crack cocaine, which I'm going to get to there here in a second. So just a little bit about my life. Like I said, start off, my mom and dad, they were very young when they had me. My mom, she did everything she could. She after she had me, she took a year off from school after she had me. And then once I got old enough, she went back to school, but she didn't go to regular school. They had this school down there in Memphis called Tech School. And that's what she went to. She went to Tech School. And initially when my dad's mom would watch me for free, but then she started wanting to charge my mom, and my mom couldn't afford it. So just show you how God works. And I think this is why I love school, how I end up being a chemist, to show you just how God works. And I always say everything works out for good. What happened was my mom was talking to one of her teachers, and she was kind of upset. And the teacher like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Well, I might have to drop out of school because I can't find anybody to watch my son while I'm in school." So the teacher says, "I tell you what," she's like, "Is he a fussy baby?" Blah blah blah. She's like, "No, he's a really good baby. He really don't cry a lot. If he does cry, he just need a bottle or change, and he's pretty quiet for the most part." So the teacher said, "Well, I tell you what, why don't you bring your son here, and I will watch him while you in classes, in between classes while you in classes." So that's what my mom did. She would actually, and I wish to this day, she can't remember the teacher's name. I wish to this day that I can find out the teacher's name. I don't know who the teacher, I don't even know if he's still alive. That was so long ago. But I would love to just meet that person and show him the man that I've become. But that's what that teacher would do. The teacher would watch me while she was in class. And that's what it did. So I think that's why, because I love, and all growing up, I've always loved school. That's one thing that really helped me get to where I'm at today, because I've always loved school. I always love going to school, even though most of my peers, most people around me, they hated going to school. I always loved school. I think because I was basically raised in the school. So she did that. And she actually finished high school, graduated from Tech University, got out of school, was doing real good on her own. She was a very hard worker. It was just like my grandmother was, which I'll talk about her in a second. Very hard worker. And then, had her own apartment, had her own cars. And then just, as I got a little older, she started to get to a point where there was certain men coming to her life, and it was really just bad influences. And a few years after she had me, about 5 years later, she had my brother, my younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me. She got with his dad, and she ended up having him. So then she had two of us. And then that was about the time when she kind of started decline. And like I said, my mom, in the beginning, she was wonderful. I remember, she used to read to me like every night. And I never forget this one book. It was called The Pokey Little Puppy. And she read that book to me every night. And she read the book to me so much that I knew the book by heart. So that's how I learned to read from at an early age. I think I was around 3 or 4, and I'm not exaggerating. I think I was around 3 or 4 when I learned to read, just because I had memorized the book. And so when I open the book up, I can put the words with the book, and I kind of learned to read at a very early age because my mom used to read to me every night. So the first 5 years, like I said, it was pretty good. It was pretty great. Then, like I said, she started hanging around, getting with different men, being with different men, and the men that she wasn't good at influencing her life. And she got to the point where she was paying more attention to the men than she were to me. And then eventually, she started getting into drugs. And of course, back then, like everybody, drank and they smoked. But then she started snorting cocaine around the age when I started noticing the change. That started when I was about 5. But I started really noticing the change when I was around 7 or 8. I started noticing I would come in some days from school early. This one, she was still on her own, still had her own apartment. And I would come in from school, and some days I get home a little early or something, and she'd come out the bathroom, my nose be bleeding. And then, you know, our kids are curious. Sometimes we just be messing with stuff, and we would find mirrors with little half pieces of straws on it. And of course, we knew what that meant. So, but I mean, she still kept it together for the most part. She, you know, she did a thing, but then like about a year later, about, you know, toward the end of my third grade year, that's when her health really started to decline, really started getting bad. She started doing drugs. She started paying more attention to drugs, and then men more than us. She couldn't keep a job, where at first she always had a job, always had her own vehicle. We always had our own place. She couldn't keep a job. She was constantly losing jobs, constantly going from man to man. And then over the course of the next 2 years, it got real bad. So by the time I was 10, she had got to the point where she was full blown. Well, she had started doing crack, and she was full blown what we call a crackhead, and got to you know, doing that, and ended up losing her cars. She lost her car. She lost her apartment. We had a house for a minute, and it was for that 2 week period. We would just kind of move from house to house. We'd go somewhere and stay, and she wouldn't pay the rent. You know, maybe stay 2 or 3 months, and then they kick us out because she couldn't pay the rent. And we always end up, whenever we got kicked out, we always ended up back at my grandmother's. And then by the time I was 10, she was just full blown gone, and I ended up going to live with my grandmother. And so that was her. Like I said, start off, and she was a beautiful woman. Like, I remember when I was young, she was so beautiful. I remember, and like I said, she was young, so she loved going to clubs, going out. And I just remember sitting in the restroom on the toilet watching her while she was getting dressed, you know, just looking like how beautiful she was. And of course, by the time I got to about 10, you know, from all the clubbing and the partying and the drugs, I mean, her health just declined, and I mean, her beauty kind of went with her, kind of thing. So from that point on, about 10 years old, like I said, she was full blown drug addict, you know, and she couldn't keep a job. So about that time is when she started prostituting herself, so she could support a habit. And of course, you know, in the hood, everybody knew our family had a cousin that was a pretty big guy on the block, kind of thing. And you know, and we stayed right in the middle of the block that we lived on, and in a pretty big house. So everybody knew our family, everybody knew who he was. So when my mom started doing it, everybody knew who she was. And you know, that's rough on a kid, because you know, all my friends knew. Everybody knew who she was, you know, and sometimes, you know, they'll bring it up, like, you know, sometimes you get into what we call checking, where, you know, you're talking about each other or whatever, you know, and whenever I was pretty good at it, because I was, you know, a big guy, and I was fat, and I was really dark when the light-skinned brothers was in. So, you know, so I had to get good at checking, and I was pretty good. But the one trump card people always had was about my mom. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's why I had your mom last night or something like that. And that always hurt my heart, because even though they were just saying it to get at me, it was always a possibility that it could be true. So that really just kind of that hurt me whenever they brought that up, and that was something I dealt with for forever, you know. And then of course, because she couldn't keep a job, like I said, she was prostituting, but we also ended up being on government assistance. We had food stamps and welfare and all those things. And the problem was, you know, it was coming in, but when the first of the month came in and the food stamps came around and everything, she would end up selling the food stamps, or, you know what I'm saying, to pay for her drugs, or to pay for the drugs that she got the previous month, and then get some new drugs. So I mean, if we was lucky, she would maybe spend, you know, $50 on groceries, and the rest she sold to the drug dealers or sold to people for cash so she can get her drugs. You know, and the same was with the welfare checks. You know, we was lucky. Maybe we got a pair of shoes from the dollar store or something like that. But for the most part, it went to her drug habit. So the rest of my childhood, that's basically was the rest of my childhood, having to deal with my mom and her addiction. Now, as far as my dad, I'm gonna get to my grandma's times. My dad, like I said, he never really tried. He never made an effort. And the thing was, like, you know, a lot of times you hear like, well, your dad, you know, the dad wasn't around just at all. And the crazy part about it wasn't my situation it wasn't even that my dad was around. He was actually around. He actually hung out on the corner a block away from where I stayed at, but he never came to see me. He never made any effort toward, you know, coming to see me. If I wanted to see him, I knew I can go see him but he never made an effort to see me. And the only time I would really see him is maybe I was walking home from school or on the way to school, and he was out there on the corner smoking and drinking with his friends, and, you know, he'd come by, hey, where you going, kind of thing. And it was bad, because, like, if I had money on me, which I was a little hustler when I was younger, what I used to do is, there was a lot of old ladies that lived in our neighborhood. And by the time I got around 10, 11, when my mom, where the crack was, that was when crack was really first hitting. So the neighborhood was actually decent, and then it just got real bad real quick because of the whole crack epidemic. So it was a lot of older ladies in the area that my grandmother was friends with, and they was always afraid to kind of go out of their house and stuff because it's so much violence and the gangs and all that stuff that was hanging. Well, it wasn't really gangs then; you just groups of guys hanging out, but it was always people on the guys on the corners and stuff. So they was afraid to go to stores, and I knew everybody. Everybody knew me, and they had a respect for me. And when I say respect, it wasn't respect like, oh, we're not gonna mess with him, he's Big John. It was more of a, man, we're not messing with him, he's Big John, because he got other things to do. Like the people from the hood, they always knew that I was different. Even though I was a hood dude, I mean, there's a hood test that you can take, and I can check off, there's 12 points to check off, see if you hood. I guarantee I get at least 10 of the 12, So I was a hood dude, but I never had that hood mentality. I've always felt that there was more out there than what I was seeing before me. So I never tried to be a hood dude. I was always myself, what I'm saying? Like I said, I love school. I love going to school. I love playing the sports. So it kept me busy. I was a Boy Scout, so I loved doing that. So I was always doing things to keep me busy and keep me out of the street. And the people always had a respect for me for that because they knew my mom and who my mom was, and they knew who my dad was, and they knew, what I'm saying, for them to be where they at and for me to be doing what I'm doing and being successful, it was always a blessing. So the people had a respect for me. So with that being said, I was able to kind of go roam the streets and go to the stores and everything without anybody messing with me because everybody always, really, the whole neighborhood kind of protected me. They knew not to mess with me kind of thing because, like I said, they just had a respect for what I was doing and what I was going through. So what I would do is I would go to the store, run store errands for these older ladies. If they need their yards cleaned or something like that, grass cut, I would do that kind of thing. And I mean, I did everything I could to make a few bucks because my mama never brought money home, and the grandma who I was living with, we have 4 other cousins, which I get into a little later. And all she had was like disability, Social Security, and the welfare check she would give for them. So it was never enough money to go around. So if I wanted anything, I had to get it myself kind of thing. So I would always run these errands for these older ladies, and I kind of had a little business going. And the thing was, I didn't charge them. I didn't know enough to charge them. Just whatever they gave me, that's what I took. So that's what I did. So I always kind of had money on me, and my dad knew that. So if I went by my dad, I would actually had to hide my money or give it to one of my friends before he saw me, because he would go through my pockets. And if I had some money, he would take it from me. So that's the kind of guy he was. And like I said, he spent all this time on the corner, right around the corner from where I lived at, never really made it any effort to come and see me. If I want to see him, I had to go see him. Sometimes I want to go see my grandmother, and he actually lived in some projects a few miles away from where we lived at, called Lauderdale Court. So I would actually have to walk over there by myself to go visit him or to go see my grandmother if I wanted to. And just the last thing on him, just kind of let you know the kind of individual he is. When I was in high school, I was working as a dishwasher. And I had a busy schedule. When I was in high school, I was going to school, of course, full time. I had a almost full-time job washing dishes because I was working like 20, 25, 30 some hours a week, sometimes 40 if it calls for it, and I was playing sports. I was playing football, and at one point I was playing football and wrestling. So, and I used to have to catch the bus to work, and the place I worked at was about 45, 50-minute drive, but it's about 45, 50-minute drive, but it's over an hour or something if you catch the bus. So I realized, like, man, I can save some time and actually get maybe a little bit more sleep if I just bought me a car. So what I did, I started working real hard, working going in on service and stuff, getting overtime and everything, and it saved for me a car. And I had just started saving up, maybe I had been working about 5, 6 months. I had about $500-600 saved up. Somehow my dad got wind that I was, working to save for me a car. So one day he came to me and said, "Hey, I know this guy that's selling a car. If you want to buy it." And he said, "I heard you looking for one." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, what kind of car is it?" And I never forget it, y'all. This was back in this was back in 97. No, this was about 96, the early 96, toward the end of 95, 96. And the car was a 1992 Buick Skylark. So it was basically brand new. I mean, it didn't have no miles on it, nothing. And he brought it by one day. It was him and this other guy. And he brought it by one day, and I mean, it was clean, didn't have a lot of miles on it. It was nice. So he's like, man, you interested? And I'm like, yeah. I like, how much the guy want for it? And he's like, well, how much you got? And I was like, man, I just got, $500-$600. So he's like, that'll be enough. So I like, bet. You know what I'm saying? So I give my dad $500-$600. He give me the car. So I get the car, and then he tells me, and I should have knew something was wrong, but I was just so excited to have a car. I should have knew something wrong, because he was like, hey, look, just keep the car in the backyard and don't drive it. I said, all right. He said, because until we get the title and stuff on it. So, it's my dad. I trust him. Like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? So I get the car, and I just park it beside my house. And that went good for about a week. But, I'm a teenager. I got my license. I got a car. You think I'm just going to let the car sit there? So, about the time the second week rolled around, man, me and my cousin, I think one morning I missed the bus to school. And I'm like, man, forget this. I'm just going to drive my car to school. So, man, I drove my car to school. And then me and my cousin, after school, man, we rode all over Memphis. We went shopping. I was driving the car to work. So this went on about 2 weeks. I'm just driving this car around all over Memphis. And every time I asked my dad, like, man, about the title and stuff, he never would give me the title. What up, Rod? I'm glad you're here, man. I'm just talking about my old North Memphis days. I'm sharing my testimony tonight. I don't know if you ever heard the whole thing. And I'm just getting into the talk about the old North Memphis days. So I appreciate you being here. So like I said, I'm constantly asking my dad about the title, and every time I asked him about the title of the car, he would always kind of, oh no, we'll see. So this went on for like 4 weeks. Every time I asked, he avoided the question or just made up some excuse. So finally, I got curious. Like, I think something's going on. So what I did, I went through the car and I searched the car, and it was like they completely cleaned the car out. There was nothing in there, and it was like I kid you not, it was one little piece of paper, like a receipt of something that was kind of wedged down in the glove compartment. And I pulled it out, and it was a lady's name on there. And back in the day, we had the phone book. So I went and I got the phone book, and I looked this lady's name up in the phone book. And I called the number, and the lady answered. And I asked her, I said, ma'am, my name is John Stewart. And I was wondering, did you used to own a Buick Skylark? And she said, yeah, I used to. Then I was like, well, what happened to it? She said, well, my son, he's on that stuff, and he stole my car, and I don't know where is it. And when he said that, it kind of confirmed my suspicion. I said, ma'am, I just want to let you know, I actually have your car. I said, my dad came by with this guy, tall white guy. It was a tall white guy. I never forget. He just had long hair and just looked real shady now that I look back on it. But I was a kid. I wasn't paying attention to none of that. Didn't think my dad would bring that kind of person to me. And I said, yes, ma'am, I think that was, and then she kind of described him, and it was her son. She said, yeah, he's on this stuff, and he left with the car, supposed to be going to the store a few weeks ago, and I haven't seen the car since. And I was like, well, ma'am, I said, I have the car, and, I arranged to bring it to you. And then my grandma and my folks told me, I didn't realize that I could have got in trouble had I, took the car over there and the police caught me with it. So my grandma was like, no. She said, you call the police, have the police come and pick the car up, and then she can get it that way. So that's what I ended up doing, calling the police and having the police come get the car. So I was heartbroken because I had the whole, all that work I had put into getting that $500-$600 was gone. And then I called my dad about it. Well, why'd you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, man, I'm trying to get the title. I didn't want to. I'm like, what if I had got? And the thing was, what if I got pulled over at any point in those 2-3 weeks I was driving around that car? At any point I could have got pulled over. A young black man in a nice, because like I said, it was like a '92 Buick Skylark. Almost practically new, and me and my cousin just driving around in it. At any point we could have got pulled over. Any point we could have got pulled over, and I would have went to jail and had a felony on my record because of something my dad did for me. So I know, and I told him that, and I like, well, can I get my money back? He's like, no, the money gone, and he never did get my money back. So man, so that was just, and like I said, I just went into that story to tell you the kind of individual he was and why he wasn't really in my life. He was really, and to this day, he's still about taking care of himself. He's still about drinking and smoking, and that's fine. And I used to have a lot of hatred toward him. In my younger adult years, but since I gave my life to God, I've learned that, man, he's the one gonna have to answer for that someday. You know what I'm saying? And because he wasn't in my life, it actually worked out better for me because I was able to come across other men and women that helped me along because I didn't have a father there. So that was my mom. That was my dad. And because of them and their habits, like I said, I ended up living with my grandmother over in North Memphis. Now, the funny thing about my grandmother, my dad's mom, I call her the fun grandmother. She was nice. She basically let me do anything I want to do when I went over her house, let me eat whatever I want to eat. You know what I'm saying? So I always had a good time over her house. But my other grandmother, my mom's mom, she was mean. She was just mean, ornery. And she was just, it wasn't even that she mean, she was just old school. She always felt like a kid should be seen and not heard. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no back talking. Man, she would punch you in your mouth. Like if I was talking, like sometimes I'll never forget, Like I'll be talking to her, like she'll be telling me something, and again, we don't think it's talking back. We just try to prove our point, kind of thing. And you know what I'm saying? And my grandma, once she say something, that's it. It ain't no. I don't want to hear no talking back. I don't want to hear nothing else. When I say that's what it is. And you know what I'm saying? She'll tell me to do something, and I get to run in my mouth. And then she used to do this weird thing where she would drink water, and she would just take a mouthful of water and just let the water just sit in her mouth, and then just sit there for like minutes, and then find a drink. And I don't know if she was warming up or what. But if she was sitting there with that mouthful of water, and I'm sitting there talking, and man, she would just spit it right in my face. By this time it's saliva and everything, Mr. So it was just like, it was disgusting. You know what I'm saying? So I did not like my grandmother, Leola is her name, Leola Stewart. I did not like her. But because my mom drug habit and my dad drug habit, I ended up having to stay with her. And like I said, she was just so mean. But you know what I'm saying? So, and over the time, she ended up starting to go blind. She had diabetes real bad, so she lost her eyes, so she started going blind. So I had to take care of her. And again, to show you how God worked, I ended up having to take care of her. So it got to a point where she could no longer cook because she couldn't see, and she used to have to take insulin, and she couldn't do that. So I started having to cook. I would have to give her insulin. I had to cook dinner. I would have to cook her breakfast. When I got up in the morning, I had to get up a little bit earlier so I can cook her breakfast and lay out her lunch in the fridge and put it where she can go, walk to the fridge and get it and have it to eat while I was gone. And so it was just a lot. I went through a lot as a child. It was a lot. It was a lot of pressure because I had to start taking care of her. But she taught me how to cook. You know what I'm saying? She taught me how to clean, but the main thing she did for me, she taught me how to worship the Lord, and that was my grandmother's one rule. Because like I said, I was living there. Me and my brother ended up living there. And then a little bit later, I had an auntie that passed away, and she had 4 kids. And 1, 2, 3. She had 3 kids, and she ended up passing away, and they ended up living with my grandmother as well. So we had a house full, and only the income my grandmother had coming in, like I said, was her Social Security check from when she worked, and then the welfare checks from from her daughter passing away, and Social Security from that. And then, like I said, my mom, she got food stamps and welfare, but she spent it. She went and gave that to the drug dealers. So we never really had that money. So it was rough, man. It was rough. We was barely scraping by. The house we living in, it started off good. My grandmother owned the house, but over the years, she didn't have the money to maintain it. So, it was bad. Like, you walk into the house, it was roaches everywhere. It was holes, like the plaster in the walls, it was just holes in the wall. There was holes in the floor. The roof was caving in. I remember by the time my senior year came around, the right side of our house was held up by 2x4s. You know what I'm saying? Because the roof and the water damage, everything was just caving in. And, and you had to watch when you stepped in the house because you stepped in the wrong place. And the house kind of set up on a foundation. Like, it's set up about 3-4 feet in the air. So if you stepped in the wrong spot, you can actually step and fall through the floor. So of course we lived there, so we knew where to step and not to step. But you had to be careful wherever you stepped at because it was just that bad. And and I remember as a kid, how sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you want to go get you a cup of water. Well, what we would have to do, like during the day, roaches wasn't as bad because when the lights on, the people moving, they tend to hide. So you might see one run across there now and again, but it wasn't bad. But at night when everybody went to sleep, it's like that's when they came out to play. So if you got up in the middle of the night and you wanted to go and get you a drink of water or something, like what I would have to do, I had to go in, I would cut the light on in the kitchen, and I would literally have to stand there for 2-3 minutes and wait for the roaches to clear out before I can walk in there. That's how bad they were. It was like a blanket over the front, the stove and the table. Even if the kitchen was clean, it was just like a blanket of bugs all over it, and I would have to wait for them to clear out before I can go in there kind of thing. So those were the living conditions I was in. But yet I never let that get me down. I was always a happy kid. Like I said, I enjoyed going to school. I enjoyed hanging out with my friends. You know what I'm saying? And things were good in my perspective. And then what happened was we actually had a cousin that moved down. He got in some trouble. He was from up north, and he got some trouble, and he moved down with us when I was about, I guess around I was about 7 or 8, and he moved down. And he kind of took me on his wing because, like I said, I wasn't a hood guy. Like, I never tried to be a hood guy. You know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. Like I was always just me. I wasn't a hood guy, and everybody knew I wasn't about that life. And they'll tell you this day, oh, Big John, he ain't about that life. I never was that guy, and I never tried to be that guy. But I did hang out. I had some cousins that were pretty bad. I would hang out with them, and I would do stuff when they was with me. But when I was by myself, so I was me. But I never did really try to be a bad guy. I just knew I had some backup when my cousins was around. So this cousin moved in, and he kind of took me on his wing. I was around 8 when he moved in. And so he took me on the wing. He was like my favorite cousin, and it started off good, and then it ended up getting bad because sometimes down the road he realized, like I said, my mama, she started getting real bad in drugs, so I was often by myself. So this cousin, he he was there like, well, man, just come hang out with me, kind of thing. And his dad lived down the street from us, so sometimes we go down to his dad's house, and that's when molestation started happening. And turns out, man, he was a pedophile. And he ended up molesting me. And I always say molestation because it just sounds softer, but it was rape. And this went on for years. And it happened because, and something I forgot to mention, with my dad, when I did go hang out at my grandma's house, I had an uncle on my dad's side when I was like 4 or 5, and he was doing the same thing. So I never knew this or understood. Kids these days, they know a lot more than we did. Because back in the day, if an OG didn't tell you something, you just didn't know, kind of thing. So I didn't know nothing about sex. I didn't know the proper way for sex and nothing like that. So I didn't understand those concepts. So when my uncle on my dad's side started doing this, whenever I went to visit my dad, he would do it, when I was like 4 or 5. So I didn't think, it was a thing. I just always knew. I remember them all saying, don't tell nobody about it. Like I remember that. They never really would let me talk about it, tell anybody about it, kind of thing. But I just, I'm trusting and everything. They was my favorites to hang out with because they was the only one that would hang out with me, really. So I just, did whatever they said. So from the age of about 4 or 5 years old till I was about 10 years old, I was being molested or raped on a daily basis by 2 different men. So that was all going on. And again, God protected me in that because I still remember some of it, but I don't remember all of it. Some of it is weird. Sometimes I remember when it happened. I can remember full details, but I can't even tell you how it started or exactly when it started, but I do know what was going on. So that was going on as well. So my mom, she was on the crack. I was being molested. But again, God just had his hand on me. I never knew it at the time, but I still never got to my spirit. It never made me a angry person. I was never a depressed kid or angry kid. I was always a happy kid. So nobody never really knew what was truly going on other than people that really knew me. Like nobody knew about the molestation. Nobody knew about that. But as far as all the other stuff that was going on in my house, only the people that really knew me knew that, about the drugs and all that. But other than that, nobody really knew because I was always a happy person. I always had a good spirit, so to speak. So that was my childhood. That's what I went through. Like I said, I ended up living with my grandmother. And like I said, the one main thing she did for me, her one rule I think I was about to mention was if you stayed at the house, you had to go to church. That was my grandmother's rule. You wasn't going to live in the house and not go to church. Every Sunday morning, we had to go to church. And I ain't going to lie to y'all, man, I hated going to church. Church was just so, and our church was in Mississippi, which it wasn't far because it was right across the border of Mississippi over in South Haven. But it was still about a 45-minute hour drive. And so we had to get up pretty early. And my uncle, who lived in South Memphis, took us to church. So we had to get up real early because he had to come over there and pick us up early so we can get to church on time. And I just hated going to church. I would go there and we'd play and we'd sit in the back, wouldn't pay attention, and just like, oh, man. But that was my grandma's rule. If you stayed at the house, you had to go to church. So every single Sunday, as a child from, like I said, about 10 till I moved out, I was in church every single Sunday. And like I said, I used to hate it, but now I'm so grateful for it because that laid the foundation to get me to where I am today. So I was always grateful for that. So, that was going on. That was kind of what was going on in my childhood. And when I look at my life, I looked at how I came up and who I was raised by. You know what I'm saying? I always like to say I was a sheep raised by wolves. Because everybody that lived in my house, like I said, my 3 cousins, they came and lived in. Then I had another cousin that kind of ran the block. He was ran the block. I don't like to talk too much about his details because he's pretty gangster and he don't like mention even though he don't do it no more. He still don't like to be mentioned. But you know what I'm saying, he stayed on the other side of the house as well, and he kind of took me under his wings as well. I call him my uncle, but really he's my cousin. So that's what I hung around. I hung around gangsters. Like that's what I hung out. That's who I hung out with. That's who taught me the thing I know. I hung around gangsters and hood dudes. Like I said, everybody that lived in my house, they were either on drugs, they were selling drugs, they was in gangs or something like that. There was something like that. And like I said, even though that influence was in my life, I picked up some stuff from them, but still that never was me. You know what I'm saying? And there were a lot of people respecting me because they knew what environment I lived in. They knew what I had going on around me, but it never didn't affect me. I never tried to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? You never saw me walking around with my pants sagging with a do-rag hanging in my pocket. I never tried to be that guy. I was always just Big John. As everybody knew, Big John. I spent most of my time at the community center down the street, playing basketball, or at the church down the street in my Boy Scout meetings, or I was at school, I was doing something like that. I just stayed busy. And that's what kept me out of trouble. I stayed busy. And another thing, and I always like to point this out too, another thing that kept me out of drug dealing, because there was a couple of people that tried to give me, man, you can do this kind of thing. Even my own dad at one point tried to get me sell drugs. But what kept me from selling drugs was other drug dealers. Because it was two things they did. First, they told me, especially when I started getting a little older, and I started running with some of the drug boys that was in the neighborhood that was selling drugs, and they would pull me aside like, look, man, like you way smarter than this. You got a lot going on. And like, I don't never want to see you out here on these streets. You know what I'm saying? They let me know. Like, we see you out on these streets, and they tell me, and I don't want to say no names. I'm not trying to snitch on nobody, but they would tell me, like, if we see you out here on these streets, then I'm going to come at you myself. You're going to have a problem with me myself, or with me yourself. You know what I'm saying? And the drug dealer that was telling me this is somebody that you did not want to have problems with. You know what I'm saying? He said, well, I tell you what, but what he gave me an ultimatum. And he said, I tell you what you do. Man, you go to school, you get your good grades. He said, every time you get your report card, bring your report card to me, and I'm going to give you so many dollars. For every A, I'm going to give you so many dollars. For every B, I'm going to give you so much, and so on and so forth. So that's how I got smart. Like, I went to school, so I was in school. I'm writing book reports. I'm doing everything, man. And I made sure I had honor roll every report card. So every report card every time my report card come around, I would walk around the hood showing the drug dealers my report card, and they would give me money. And then there was a couple of corner stores we had. We had one called Roxy's Grocery. We had one we called it Mug Aries. It was Brian's, but we called it Mug Aries because of the original guys that owned it. And then one called Johnson. They would always give me like free stuff. I can like pick out a bag of chips or some snack cake. I loved Nutty Bars at the time. So, you know what I'm saying? So I can pick out some snack cakes and all that kind of thing. So, like I said, like the hood is bad, but it had its bright moments as well. You know what I'm saying? When I really look at my life, with my mom and dad not being around and my grandmother really being disabled, North Memphis really raised me. But, you know what I'm saying? And I know most people like, well, how can North Memphis raise you and you come out good? Because it's like it gave me all of its good, if that make any sense. Like, I only took the good part from it. I got some of the bad, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I every once in a while I have some hood tendencies. I tell people I have to hold that North Memphis in. And it's there for when I need it. You know, if I get in a situation where I need it. But for the most part, man, the good, that neighborhood gave me the good. You know what I'm saying? I always had people watching out for me. Like I said, I used to go back and forth from the community center to my house all the time. There was always somebody keeping an eye on me. The guy was standing on the corner, and I remember one guy's name was Jimmy. He was a real cool dude, man, and he was smooth dude. He always had this fly Jerry curl, always had these fly clothes on, and he always stood outside of Mug Aries. And Mug Aries is about halfway between Greenlaw and my house. So I'd be walking there, and he'd be like, Big Dad, where you going? And I'm like, man, I'm going to the gym. He said, you better make sure you go straight there. I'm going to watch it till you get there. You know, and so I walk on down the street, and I get to the end of the corner, and I just check. I turn back and look, and he got his eyes right on me. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do this, but I mean, I look right in his eyes, and he just kind of like understood, like, yeah, I'm watching you now. You better take your butt on to the gym, and that's what I did. So I always had people watching out for me. I always had people influence me. And, you know, you hear a lot of stories, especially when you like the nerd or the not the gangster guy in the hood, that the people would pick with you, which I had some kids would, but for the most part, man, people encouraged me. You know, so they were like, man, you're going to do better than this. You're going to do something big one day. And that's why I worked so hard, because I wanted to show those people that effort and time they put into me, it was worth it. You know what I'm saying? So that's a little bit of my childhood. I like to start my testimony with that, so to let you know where I came from, what I came up in. Like I said, I was a sheep raised by wolves. You know what I'm saying? But the Lord had his hand on me, which I didn't understand that then. I understand it now. Looking back on it, I understand it. But I never understood, I didn't understand then how the Lord was just really molding me to be the person that I need to be. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I went through so many of those things I did was so I can do the work that he had for me to do. So that was my childhood. Those was the main characters. Like I said, there's other characters that'll come up as I go through this, but those are the main ones, and that was kind of my background. That's how I grew up. Like I said, I was just poor, hustling, doing whatever I can to make money. So I go through that. That's my whole childhood and my teenage years. So finally come to high school. Now this is where the story really started, when I really started to get out of my own. So I finally make it to high school. I ended up graduating one of the top people in my class. I had like I think I was number 6 out of the class. Now our class not huge. It was only like 33 kids. I went to a very small school. What up, Pat? I see you there, man. Went to West Side, small school. So it wasn't huge, but I was still number 6 in the class. One of the top athletes. I got an all-state when I was in high school. So, and like I said, I was really good at football. I played football. I played basketball. I ran track. I mean, I wrestled. I was always doing something. I knew something. And my mentality was to do something, everything, because something's going to get me out of this hood. So I was always doing whatever I could to stay busy and to stay out of the streets. You know what I'm saying? So I get to high school. Like I said, I get ready to graduate high school. I got all kind of colleges looking at me and everything. You know what I'm saying? So I got close to the time when I was getting ready to go to school. I had to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? My second half of my senior year, and I had to make a decision. And there was this school in Minnesota that was really interested in me, and they were going to give me a football scholarship. My coach, I think he had played there. He had some associated with it, so he had got me in, and they wanted me to come up there. So I had made the decision. I was going to go to St. Paul, Minnesota. That was what I was going to do. And so I did that, and in the meantime, Tennessee was like my second choice. TSU was one of my second choices because some of the guys were getting recruited there, and we ended up going up to TSU for like a homecoming game, and I was just blown away. I mean, I never get it like the best time I ever had, and I understand TSU homecomings. I know that why they wanted us to come up there then, because it kind of got the hooks in me, but I was still going to Minnesota. And so I'm starting to get more on my own. Like I said, I'm working. I finally got my own car. I went to an auction and bought my own car. So I finally, had my own car and everything. And everything was, just going that way, progressing toward me being an adult. So I came time for me to decide to go to college. I was going to go to Minnesota. And what happened was my grandmother came to me one day and she told me, look, I understand you got to leave. She said, I don't want you to stay here because they're like with your mom and your dad the way they are. I know that you got to get away from here because all they're going to do is drag you down. She said, all I ask is that you go somewhere close. She said, because, you the one that been taking care of me for all these last 2-3 years, and you don't want to really trust because like I said, most of just about everybody else in our family, they had even moved off or, they was into drugs and stuff. She said, so I just want you to stay close enough that if something happened to me, you can get home. So, of course, my grandma, she had did so much for me, and I understood that as I got older, how much she had done for me, raising me and taking care of me and everything. So, like a few days after she said that, I got a letter from TSU saying that I basically had a full ride. It was some loans involved, but for the most part, I had grants, and I had a couple of little scholarships or whatever. I didn't have a football scholarship. I lost my football scholarships because I didn't go to Minnesota. But basically, it was saying, like, if I come here, everything will be paid for. I had already been accepted. So, and it was right down in Nashville. I'm like, okay, bet I'm going to go to TSU. And that's how I ended up in Nashville, Tennessee. So, I, get packed up, go off to school or whatever. And I actually think I accepted, like, it was the week I was supposed to leave to go to Minnesota when I got the letter from TSU and decided to go to TSU. So I had no kind of plans or anything of going to Nashville or TSU. I didn't have a room or anything. So basically just the week before, like the freshman week, I just packed up my stuff and I just arrived. My uncle that used to take me to church, him and my mom, they drove up to Nashville with me. We didn't even know where the school was at. And we didn't have GPS back then. So we just followed the signs. And luckily, TSU is right off the interstate once you get in Nashville. So we just followed the sign and ended up at the school. So got to the school. Like I said, I didn't have no dorm room. It was chaos everywhere. And I went into the dorm. And I talked to the guy, the head guy, whatever, and he's like, well, right now we packed, and with you not having your stuff sent and all this, like you might not be able to get a room. And then my mom was like, well, let me talk to you for a second. She took me back in the office, and I don't know what she did, and I don't want to know what she did, but all I know is when she came back out, I had me a dorm room. You know what I'm saying? So everything got set up, man, and that was it. And I was in the college life. So that's when the fun started. So I got into college life, and the first thing I did when I moved up to Nashville and moved out of my grandma's house was stop going to church. That was the first thing I did. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I'm free from this lady and her church mess. And I stopped going to church because, man, we started kicking it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm living the college life. I was playing ball the first year. I was a walk-on. I ended up having to walk on to TSU, and I actually made the squad, you know, as a walk-on. So I'm playing ball. That was the TSU heyday, too. They won a championship a year or so after I had joined the team, even though I went on the team by that time. But, you know, got to playing ball. You know, we partying, got to hanging out with fraternities and things like that nature. You know, all kind of girls from all over the world, stuff I just never been exposed to. And, you know, I tell most dudes in the hood, man, go to college. It was the best time. Like, when you see these rap videos and stuff, you know, and the parties and things, the kind of thing they be doing in rap videos, that's college just about like every day. You know what I'm saying? And the women actually look like that. You know, you really go to the hood, you might get a fine one here and there. But in college, man, I mean, I saw some of the most beautiful women ever. And I was around them, and they were sophisticated and smart, and they was all about, you know what I'm saying, they hustle. And I mean, it was just, man, it was on and popping. So I kicked it. You know what I'm saying? I had a great time, but again, I got away from God. That was the first thing I did. I stopped going to church. You know what I'm saying? That was the very first thing I did, stop going to church. So I'm up there at TSU. I started making new friends and everything. Everything was good. And my first year, I didn't do too bad. Then my second year, my sophomore year, I started getting a little bit more wild, started getting into a little bit more drinking, you know what I'm saying? And I never really liked alcohol, but I was a social drinker. So we going out to the club, whatever, I'm getting turned up. And then by the time my third year rolled around, I had this roommate that smoked weed all the time. Like that, man, this dude was just like, he couldn't go to bed if he didn't smoke weed. And you know what I'm saying? So, of course, I wasn't a weed smoker, but eventually he convinced me, man, just try it kind of thing. So I started smoking with him, and then, man, I got on weed just real heavy. You know what I'm saying? Real heavy. So by my third year, man, that was what I was doing. I had been in church at that time. I had been in church about 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Maybe once in a while I go to church because I was interested in a girl or something, but for the most part, I didn't go to church. Won't go to church. I was just partying. Every weekend was partying, drinking, and smoking, and then Sundays was for sleeping in to recuperate from the night before. So that went on for about 2-3 years. And then one day my grandmother called me. And she called me and she like, she told me, she said, getting toward the end of my life, she said, I know I ain't going to have much longer here. She said, I'm glad you're doing, because I was still getting my schoolwork. I was still getting my grades. I was just doing a lot of stuff that I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing. So she's like, I know it's getting toward the end of my life. I just actually said, you know what I did for you? You know the sacrifice I made for you. She said, the only thing I ask is for you to take care of your brother, your little brother. So he's not as smart as you. He's not as strong as you. And when I'm gone, he's going to need your help. She said, so make sure, promise me that you always take care of him. So again, I'm like, yeah, grandma, whatever, not thinking nothing of it. So toward the end of my third year, by this time I had got tired of going back and forth from Memphis, because I actually had a situation where I almost died. One summer, matter of fact, my first summer, tell y'all this story real quick. My first summer back home from college, I went home and I was staying at home or whatever. My grandmother, by this time, the health got so bad she moved with my aunt. So the house was there. We still had the house, but nobody was staying in it. So I decided, clean it up and everything, and I stayed in it. And I had to do a lot of work to get it, where I could stay in it, because nobody had been in it for a while. So anyway, somehow my mama got in this situation where she was smoking dope with this guy. Something happened. I still to this day don't know exactly what happened, but basically this guy died. This guy ended up dying. I don't know if it was an overdose or what happened, but this guy died. And when he died, this night, he got robbed. Somebody robbed him. It was some bad dope. I don't even know the details, but all I know is at some point he came like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. He came to our house and he was beating on the door, like trying to get in, like he was trying to get away from somebody. And by the time, my grandma, she stayed at the front of the house. I stayed at the back of the house. So by the time she got me, because she wasn't going to open it because she couldn't see. So by the time she got back there to where I was at, to go and see who was out there and open the door, the guy had left. But it was like blood from this guy all on like our door or whatever. So we were just like, that was weird. We didn't think nothing of it. So I go back to sleep. And then next thing you know, I wake up a couple of hours later with the police knocking on my door. And they were like, and they asked me about what happened or whatever. And do you see the guy? I said, no, I didn't see the guy. I just knew somebody was beating on the door. And by the time I got there, they was gone. They were like, well, we found this guy, down the road. He was dead, and like his bloody shoe was like on our porch. So the police had like half our house all like caution tape and all that stuff. So I didn't think nothing of it. So later on that evening, no, I was getting ready to go to work. I had a friend of mine named Terrence Parr. He had just got to start working with me, and I was supposed to cook the employee dinner that day. And I was getting ready to go to work, and I was getting ready to go to work, and all of a sudden I saw my mom. She's like, I went down to talk to my uncle. That's what it was. I went back because these. No, I'm sorry. What happened was this group of guys came up to our house, and they approached our house, and it was just like a gang of dudes. And they were like looking for my mom, and they were like, you know, saying, sisters. I like, no, I know what you're at. Like, man, if you see that B word, no, let us know, kind of thing. And I don't know if they didn't know that was my mom or what, but you know what I'm saying. Then they just pulled off. So I was worried about my grandma being at the house by herself. So I went down to my uncle's house to tell him like, hey, you need to keep an eye on my grandmama because these dudes rolled up on our house. So when I did that, somebody said, hey, your mama wants you. And I looked, and she was flagging like it was an emergency. So I went over there, and she jumped in my car, and she was bleeding or whatever. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, this group of dudes just, jumped me. They tried to stab me and kill me, and I managed to get away. I need you to take me out to your uncle's house in South Memphis. So I'm like, all right, so now she jumped in the car, and I'm like, well, let me go by and check on my grandma, because I knew they had went by the house, and I rolled by there to check on my grandmother and make sure she was fine. She was. So as I'm coming out, getting ready to get back in the car, this car full of dudes, station wagon full of dudes pull up. And it was the dudes. So they didn't notice she slowed down the car. They didn't notice. So I just kind of got in the car and I just hit the gas. And man, I was on a high speed chase. I mean, something like a movie. They realized that she was in the car and they took off behind me. So I'm going through North Memphis, zigzagging through North Memphis. I jump on the interstate. And at the time, my car had a bad camshaft. So I couldn't, I would lose power. Like, sometimes I'd be good and sometimes I'd lose power. So they was gaining on me, and then I speed away and gained on me. And this went on. And I thought that I lost them. I was, changing lanes and things like that. And I thought I lost them. And then I got off the interstate, and I ended up coming up to a light. And I'm thinking I had lost them. And next thing you know, I look up. I just happened to look in my rearview mirror. There was about 4 cars behind me. So they knew that if they didn't catch me then, they were going to lose me. So they all jumped out of the car. And I saw one dude, he had something down like this, and it looked like a 12-gauge shotgun. So I'm sitting at the light. I'm in the middle lane. It was like the cars on each side. I'm in the middle lane, sitting at the light. And the guys rolling up. I don't know what they got. I'm thinking they got a shotgun. They about to come up there and shoot in the car. So even though the traffic come this way, I assume it was like right as they got to the car, it was a breaking in action in the traffic. I just hit the gas and I sped. I just turned fishtail real quick and went that way. And by the time I did that, they couldn't get away from me, and I got away from them. And the guy swung something. What it was, he had like this long pipe in his hand. I thought it was a 12 gauge, but it was a pipe, and he hit the trunk of my car. So I went down, I made a couple of blocks, and I finally lost him. And I was like, man, what was that all about? And my mom like, they think I did, set their uncle up to get killed or whatever. So they try to get me. So they're going to stay over here in South Memphis. So I'm like, all right. So after all that happened, of course, again, I'm worried about my grandma. I'm like, well, let me go back one more time to kiss my grandmother and make sure she's fine. I went by the house. She was fine. So I went by my cousin. I was like, man, look, this is what just happened. These dudes jumped up, jumped out, try to, beat us up or whatever. Just please keep an eye on my grandmama. So right as I said that, the dudes pull up. You know what I'm saying? And my uncle, like I said, he was a kind of a big dope dealer in the area. So I'm like, well, he's like, man, look, you just stay right here. Let me go talk to these dudes or whatever. So he goes around the corner to go talk to these dudes. And all of a sudden, I just hear like bushes wrestling. So this my uncle's friend walked around the corner, and they was jumping my uncle. They was stomping my uncle. So his crew runs around the corner, and they like, you just stay right here. Because, again, they knew I wasn't about to like that. They run around the corner, and they get squabbling. And then all of a sudden, these dudes come around the corner or whatever. Then my uncle, he finally gets free. He runs in his house because he's going to get his gun. Because there was some dudes about to die. You know what I'm saying? So in the meantime, these guys walk up. They see me standing there. They like, oh, you the dude that was driving the car. What that B word that was in your car? And I'm like, man, I said, first of all, there was no B word. That was my mama. They're like, man, we don't care who she is. Like, where she at? And I'm like, man, I ain't telling y'all nothing. So we getting to arguing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I told dog, look, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why y'all look for my mom. I said, look, I said, man, I'm home from college. I'm going back to college in 2 weeks. I said, all I want to do is make it back to college, bro. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I got in the middle of. I said, man, please, y'all just, man, y'all chill out. We can talk this through, be rational about this. So some of the dudes started like, okay, man. And they like, what college you go to? So I got them calm. They talking about college and everything. Something like, I'm out out the fire kind of thing. And then, but there's always one. There was this one guy in the group. He was like, man, F all that. And he just came across the crowd and said, bow, just hit me in the face. And then the other dude, they just kind of looked at each other, and then they just joined in. So they started, hit me or whatever. And I never hit the ground. And where I was at, I was in my uncle's apartment. So his apartment was to my back. So, and there was a car in front of me, so they can only come from this side. So I was able to defend myself a little bit, and I was just kind of duking it out, you know what I'm saying, from both sides of these dudes. And eventually they kind of surrounded me to where I couldn't, you know, I just couldn't keep going. And they just, you know, beat the crap out of me for a minute. And then right as, you know what I'm saying, then it was one moment where the same dude that hit me the first time, he had a brick in his hand. And he came across it, man, I'm finna kill this nigga. And he came across the brick. He had the brick just like this. He was getting ready to come across. And one of my uncle's friends just happened to run up and snatch the brick out of his hand. And right when that happened, the police pulled up. So all the fighting stopped or whatever. And, you know what I'm saying? The guy sit down. So the police come over. They ask him what's going on. And by my uncle, he had just came out with his 12 gauge. And when the police pulled up, he went and, you know, threw it back in his house real quick. So the police come up and they got us all sitting on the ground. They ask what's going on. And they get to me. And I'm sitting there, I'm bloody. You know what I'm saying? His eyes all swollen, everything. And they asked me what happened. And I didn't know what to do because, you know, in the hood, you don't snitch. You know, you just don't snitch. That make things worse. So I didn't know what to do because it was obvious that they had beat the heck out of me. So I'm looking, and I looked at I never forgot, looked at my uncle, and my uncle was like, he just did, he said. And so the police like, no, these guys jump you, blah, blah. I said, no, sir. They said, you sure? I said, no, sir. He said, you look like, you know, you've been beat up pretty bad. And are these the ones that do it? I said, no, sir. I don't think it was them. I couldn't see who it was. They're like, you sure? Because we're going to have to let them go if you say no. I said, no, sir. He said, all right. So he let them, took the cuffs off and told them off, like, man, y'all need to get out of here. We don't want to see y'all in this area no more. So the guys got in the car and they just drove off or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Then me and my uncle, he just, you know, cleaned me up. And he's like, man, you know, go to work. You know, make sure I take care of everything. And I rode by those guys, like I rode by the guys again, and they saw me, and they just gave me this look like respect, like, because that could have got them all locked up. So they didn't mess with me no more. But, like I said, I almost died. Had that dude hit me with the brick, I would have been dead. So, yeah, so that's all the stuff that was kind of going on. That's why I knew I had to get out of there. So I knew I was going to have to get a place because I didn't want to get back. Every time I went back to Memphis, it was always a danger of dying because of the stuff that my mom was involved in and the stuff my dad was involved in, because they was always running scams on people, conning people. And I knew it was only a matter of time before somebody came looking for me, kind of thing. So I ended up getting my own apartment. And like the week I was working on getting my apartment, that's when my grandmother called, said, you know, since I had just got into the apartment, and that's when my grandma called and said that, hey, I need you to take care of your brother. And I was like, well, I'll do what I can. Now at this time I was 21. I had just turned 21. Yeah, I had just turned 21 years old. I'm in college. Yeah, I was working full time. I was working at Taco Bell at the time. But I'm like, there's no way they're gonna give me custody of her. You know, my brother, he was 16. So I'm like, there's no way they're going to give me custody of a 16-year-old. But I promised my grandma I'd do my best, so I'll do it. So, man, I went through the court system, you know what I'm saying, put my name in a hat. And, you know, at the time he had got in trouble, my brother had got in trouble, and his dad had kicked him out. And they had picked him up, so he was in juvenile. So they basically called me. I guess he gave them my number, and they called me and said either if nobody comes get him, he's going to have to stay in the system, and he's going to be in juvenile till he turns 18 kind of thing. And I didn't want to, you know, do that, and I knew that was going to really ruin his chance of being able to do anything. So I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll come get him. You know, now I was 20, he was 15 when this happened. So, and I went through the system, and they actually gave me custody of my younger brother. So I brought him up to Nashville with me. And that's when my life started to kind of aspire, because he came up, like I said, I was doing a little college stuff, but then he came up, like he was 15, getting ready to turn 16. So he was still in high school and everything. And he went to school, and of course, he got in with the bad crowd at the school or whatever, hanging out with the wrong kids and everything. He was doing stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing. And then, you know what I'm saying, he smoked weed, I smoked weed. And like I said, I was a smoker. I was kind of like, we saw Snoop at the Super Bowl the other night. I was like Snoop. Like, I smoked. Like, by this time, I was like a smoker. Like, I smoked every day, all day. I woke up smoking, went to bed, I didn't smoke, didn't wake up without smoking, didn't go to bed without smoking. You know what I'm saying? So I went through like an ounce at least, and I bought mine about an ounce. I wasn't like most guys, they buy a dub here and there. Like, I bought an ounce because I knew I was going to smoke it. You know, it was going to be, before the week's out, I was going to need another one kind of thing. So since I bought so much, and I was such a regular customer to the guy that I was getting it from, he gave me good prices. So my brother moved up, and he started hanging out with his little friends, and they was all smoking. You know, of course, you know, I just pinch them out of bag, like what they call eyeball them. I just eyeball them a little bit out of my bag. You know what I'm saying? They give me $5, $10. I give them a gram here and there kind of thing. So, but the word kind of got out like, hey, man, you want weed? Go to John's brother kind of thing, Gerald's brother kind of thing. So next thing you know, all these little kids, they come hang out in my house, and they all want weed. And I'm like, well, I got it, you know, might as well and keep them from having to go deal with other people that's going to mess them over kind of thing. So that happened. And in doing that, I got to a point where I was going through an ounce like every other day. Like I buy an ounce, today, and it'll be gone by Wednesday kind of thing. So I'm constantly running back and forth to my guy, and he was just like, man, look, he said, you gonna run me hot. You can't be coming on, because he was actually a college student himself, and he's like, man, you gonna run me hot. You can't keep on coming over here like this. He said, so I tell you what I'm gonna do. He said, I'm gonna give you a quarter pound, which I'm like, man, how much is that? He's like, that's 4 ounces. And I'm gonna give you one of those. He said, I'm gonna give it to you. He said, when you go through all of it and you get all of it sold, bring me X amount of dollars back, and then I give you another one. So I'm like, okay, cool. And again, I'm just thinking about smoke. I'm not thinking about really making no money. No, I'm just thinking about, I get to have free weed kind of thing. I can sell some and make enough so I'm not buying for my weed. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So, but the thing is with me, when everything I do, I go all in. Everything I do, I'm 100%. I go all in everything I do. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to get this much and I'm going to be doing like this, let me, get professional about it. So I went and got me a little digital scale so I can weigh it out instead of just eyeballing it. Got me a little digital scale so I can weigh it out. Got me some baggies. And without even realizing, again, not trying to be a gangster or a big bad drug dealer, without even realizing, I just kind of slid into selling drugs. It just happened like that. And of course, when you sell, stuff, then you're going to meet certain kind of people that's into drugs and other things going to come into mind. So I started off, just like I said, selling nickels and dimes of weed. But again, I was getting a quarter pound for so cheap that I gave fat sacks. That was me. I was like daddy fat sacks. Like, most drug dealers, when you go to and you smoke weed, if you go buy a dime, which is 2 grams, you might get like 1.6, 1.7. Or me, if you bought 2 grams, you got 2 grams. You might get 2.1 depending on how good my day was. So everybody like coming to me. So my clientele built up quick, and I was getting it so cheap, and I was giving the fat sacks, and it was mostly just high school kids that knew my brother. So like within like a month or so, I just had this huge clientele to where I was going through a quarter pound like every day or so. So then the dude like, well, let's try half a pound. So he gave me a half pound, and again, the more he gave me, the cheaper the weed was, so the fatter my sacks was. So again, that started going through a half a pound every few days. So he's like, all right, man, let's go to a pound. So next thing you know, I went up to a pound, and the same thing happened. I got to a point where I was selling a pound like just nickel. And again, I wasn't doing wholesale. I was just doing like nickels and dimes kind of thing. But I was selling nickels and dimes, maybe a quarter here and there. And I was going through a pound like every 4 or 5 days. And I was only paying, depending on how good it was, $400 or $500 a pound. So if you know weed, you know how the ounces and grams and all that stuff, that is a lot of money. There's a lot of money. So a lot of money just started coming in. And again, with the weed, I met people, people that they come weed, they want some weed, but they ain't got no money, but they got pills. So like, well, we got these pills. Won't you trade us some pills for some weed? So next thing you know, I'm selling pills. I'm selling Lortab, Oxycontin, and things like that. Then I start hanging with these white guys. They was in the shrooms. So next thing you know, I'm selling shrooms. Ecstasy came around. I started selling ecstasy. So I had everything. But the one thing I said I would never sell was cocaine because of what it did for my life. Y'all, if y'all heard the beginning, I don't know how much the beginning you call, but you heard the beginning, that's when my mom got on that cocaine and my dad started using that cocaine. This was when my life really went down the drain. So I always said I would never sell cocaine. So I sold everything else but cocaine. I even eventually had a dude that lived with me that did sell cocaine, but I would never touch it. That was something I would never do. I was like, hey, go holler at my boy. You know what I'm saying? I said, he got it. I knew who got it, but I never would sell it. You know what I'm saying? So that went on. And so over the next year and a half, 2 years, man, it was popping, man. I was living like a kingpin. I had my own apartment. I had this real nice apartment. I had like 2 or 3 cars. I had all these girls that, you know what I'm saying? I had a whole slew. And I hate when my wife around, I'm telling this part of the story. I'm glad I'm in my office so she can hear me because she always get mad at this part. But I mean, I had a whole slew of girls, man. And I had everything a man would want. Like I said, I had a nice crib. It was in a nice little like white neighborhood. They had like ponds and swimming pools and jacuzzis. I mean, it was nice. 2, 3 cars. My brother had his own car. I had my own car. We had another backup car. You know what I'm saying? And I had this clientele. And it got to a point where I was able to, because my brother, you know what I'm saying, he was around and his little friends around and they wanted to sell drugs with us. You know what I'm saying? Wanted to kind of be like us or whatever. So I would just, I wouldn't even touch it. I would just get the product and I would give it to them and they would sell it for me. You know what I'm saying? But the one requirement, this is weird and this is going to come up here in a little bit, but the one thing, the only way they can sell for me is if they went to school and had perfect attendance and they had a good grade. They had to have at least a 3.0 GPA. And the reason why I gave them that stipulation, because I told, I said, man, look, if you the troublemaker, you missing school, and you going to school getting in trouble all the time, they're going to be looking for a reason to mess with you. Like, you're going to be the ones that they're going to come through when they doing the drug searches and everything. I'm like, but if you the honor-roll student and perfect attendance, never causing problems, man, they'll mess around, catch you with dope and let you go because they give you the benefit of a doubt. I said, that's how you stay on the radar. I said, you don't stay on the radar, you know what I'm saying, being flash and all that. I said, man, you go to school, you do your work, and somebody needs something, you get it to them. And these kids started doing that. So I had a whole crew of little young dudes selling weed for me, man. You know, and throughout the school and everything, we had this nice little system and everything was going to school. I was focused on my school while they were selling drugs at their school. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was work. And it went good, man, for like a year and a half. And in that year and a half, like everything a man could want, I had. You know, so I got whatever I want, I had. I got it. Whatever girl I wanted to hook up with, I got them. I had all that stuff. But at the same time, I still felt miserable. Like, no matter how much money I had, no matter how much money I made, no matter how many girls I hooked up with, I never was happy. Like, it never really brought me happy. Like, the more money I made, the more I wanted. The more girls I got hooked up with, the more I wanted. I never was happy. And honestly, I was only happy and good when we was kicking in and drinking and smoking. But when I was by myself, like, I was depressed. You know, now I find myself a lot of time questioning, like, why am I even alive? Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not really going nowhere. I just felt like I was on a hamster wheel. You know, and every time I really tried to get ahead in the drug game, get ahead, something would happen. You know, run out of product, some stuff get stolen or something like that. Because, you know, even with the drug deal, you're going to take some losses. So, you know, so I would always take this big loss. And, you know what I'm saying, school, I was kind of starting to fall behind in school. And, you know, man, it was just like whatever could go wrong kept going wrong. It's like every time I got ahead, you know, 3 steps ahead, I got pushed 5 steps back. And it got to the point where I just felt like I was cursed because even though I was working a full-time job, going to school full-time, selling dope full-time, you know, and then by this time, too, also, I had met, like I said, with my baby mom at the time, and we had our first 2-3 kids. You know, we had our first 3 boys, you know what I'm saying? So I'm working my butt off, going to school, working a full-time job, doing work study, doing everything I can to get ahead, and I never could get ahead. No matter how much money I had, no matter what I made, something always happened. My car break down, I had to fix it. And it was like, you know, me and my pastor joke right now, we call it the Cambodian baby, because whenever something happened with my car, you know, I take it to the shop and they be like, well, if it's this, it's a simple fix. You know, we just, you know, change this bed out, it'd be $50. He said, but if it's this, then it's going to cost you like $10,000 because we got to get a special tube made from a Cambodian baby that's born every 20 years and with 3 arms. So it was always something ridiculous. And it never was the easy thing with me. It was always whatever the far-fetched thing was, that's what I always had to go through. So it just I always felt like I was cursed. And, you know, I got to the point where I was just like, man, why am I even alive? You know what I'm saying? I got all this money. I got all these girls. I got all this stuff that I thought I wanted, but it still wasn't making me happy. And what it was, there was a hole in my heart. And all of us had this hole in our heart. And I was trying to fill it with material things. But in reality, the only thing that's going to fill that hole in your heart is spiritual things. And I didn't understand that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand that. So I went for a year and a half, 2 years, living like that. Like I said, doing whatever I want to. I was still going to school. But I mean, like I said, on weekends that I was off from my job, we was kicking it, partying. Like if you came to my house at any given moment, 24 hours a day, it was full. It was, you know what I'm saying, four or five guys there that was part of my crew. It was some girls there. We was kicking it. We was smoking, playing, you know, video games, watching Chappelle Show. That was my stuff back then. We was something like, it was basically a 24-hour party at my house at all given time. And because I was always at school or working or something, my brother had his little friends over, you know, it was like the hangout spot. You know, so that was all going on. And it was all good and well. But like I said, when we was kicking and smoking, I was happy. But when I was off by myself, you know what I'm saying? When I really had to just sit back and reflect on my life, I was sad inside. And there was a couple of times where I even contemplated suicide because I felt like there was no point to my life. There was no purpose to my life. So fast forward, I go through that for, like I said, it was about 2 years I got into that. You know what I'm saying? Over those 2 years of selling dope, like I said, I started off just weed, got into, you know, pills, got into selling ecstasy, shrooms, everything but coke. So fast forward, so this is where it started to come to the head. So now it's 2003. I never forget it. It was 2003, December 2003. Selling dope, everything's still going good and everything. And there was this one guy, we called him Slick Rick, that he did sell coke. And then once in a while he'll come and get some weed for me. Because like I said, I can get the weed for pretty cheap. And if he had a customer that wants some weed, he'll just come over there and get some weed for me. So he hit me with this dude. He was this proposition, like, man, look. He said, man, look how much money you're making on just selling weed. Because like I said, I was getting a pound. I was going through a pound like every week, and I was only paying $400-500. So it was a lot of money. He said, look at all this money you're making from selling weed. He said, man, imagine if you sold coke. He said, man, you'll get so far ahead, you'll be so much quicker. He said, and then he just broke it down for me. And at the time, like I said, by this time I had my girlfriend, who was my baby mama, and I was kind of taking, she worked a little bit, but not really. I was paying her bills, I was paying my bills, then I was taking care of my whole crew as well. You know what I'm saying? So like I had a lot of responsibility. I had a lot of dudes staying with me. I had to feed my crew. And I mean, it was a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I knew that if I sold that coke, I would have a lot more money to do it. But at the same time, I knew what kind of animal that coke is. I saw what that coke did to my family. I saw what it did to my life, and I know what it does to people. So it was very hard for me to just be like, yeah, let's jump into it. I had to think about it. But at that time, you know, the devil, that's how the devil, I was at a weak state. You know, by this time, I hadn't been in church probably 5-6 years at least. I hadn't been in not longer. So I was way away from God, and I was doing the things that I wanted to do, or I thought I had to do. That's what we always think we had to, when I really didn't have to. I was taking the easy way out. So I'm doing that. The dude come with this offer, and I said, man, let me think about it for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So it comes around, this is about December 2003. I never forget. The guy came to me again and with the offer. He said, man, you know, what you going to do? He said, because I want to set up in the spring. He said, so we're going to do this. We need to do it as soon as possible. So by the time spring come around, because we're going to get a house together. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get a house together. We're going to like board all the windows up. I mean, not put bars on all the windows so nobody can break in. You know what I'm saying? Fortify the doors and things like that. And it was going to be just a one-stop shop. Because I had to connect on just about everything else. He had to connect on the coke. So it was going to be one-stop shop. It split it 50-50. That was the game plan. So he's like, man, you know what I'm saying? Let me know what you're going to do. So, all right. So I said, let me think about it. So by that time, it was the first time, you know what I'm saying, I knew something had to change. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, with the coke, I know how I am. Just like with this ministry, I go 100%. So I knew if I went to, I knew what kind of the individuals that you have to deal with the coke like. And I knew if I got into that coke, I knew the kind of individuals I was going to deal with, and I knew it was going to take me down a dark path. So, but I need to do something. Something had to change because the money I was bringing in just wasn't enough anymore because I was taking care of so many people. So I had to make a choice, and I didn't know which choice to make. So for the first time, I really believe the reason why God answered this prayer, because I think it was the first time in my life I was really 100%. I went to God with 100% total honesty. And I think it ain't nothing because I was so special and nothing like that. I think the reason why God answered this prayer is because I went to him with 100% honesty. And I never forget it. I didn't get on my knees or anything like that. And like I said, at this point I had been away from church for like 6 years, and it was a point like my life was going, so I had so much stuff going on, so much chaos in my life, so much drama in my life from the drug business, always dealing with things with the drug business, that like I said, I felt like I was cursed because every time I got ahead, I got pushed back. You know what I'm saying? No matter what I did, I got ahead, I got pushed back. So, you know, so for a while, I was like, man, there can't be a God. And then by this time, too, I also realized that I had been molested, you know, for years. You know what I'm saying? I was still kind of dealing with that trauma, and I just had a lot going on. And I was like, well, there can't be a God to allow something like that to happen to me, allow these men to do these things to me, and he not protecting me. He's supposed to be there. He knew what was going on. He never protected me. So there is no God. So I had made up my mind there really is no God. So fast forward to this December, I never forget it, the beginning of December 2003, the dude made this offer. I told him to give me a few weeks to think about it. And the next night, that same night, I went to God. Like I said, I think it was the first time I went to God wholeheartedly, just completely honest. And I went to God and I told God, and like I said, I didn't get on my knees. And wasn't like, oh, Father God, I need you to rescue me. I just basically went to God like, look here, God. I said, honestly, man, I don't know if you're real or you're just a fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? You're just another fairy tale that they use to control us. I said, I really don't know. I said, but I do know I need to get this money. You know, I got 3 kids by this point. I need to get this money. I said, so you need to show up and show me without a doubt that you are truly real. Because if you don't, I'm going to start selling this coke. And I know if I start selling this coke, I'm not going to have nothing else to do with you. And I just said that kind of little prayer. Like I said, not really a prayer, just really just, hey, God, this is what it is kind of thing. And just didn't think nothing about it. And I just went on about my business. So 2-3 weeks go by, same old thing. Everything was going good. Everything was going gravy. And then Christmas was coming up. This was like a week before Christmas when Christmas was coming up. So I never forget it. Christmas get ready to come up. The weekend before that, I knew, you know what I'm saying, kids about to be out of school. Everybody going to be sitting around the house, nothing to do. They're going to want to smoke. So I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying, let me wheel it up. So I took all the money I had stacked up, and I just went about dope with it. You know what I'm saying? I took every money I had, I paid my bills, and then every cent I had left, every free penny I had left, I just went about dope. I just read up, because I'm like, man, we finna sell it. You know what I'm saying? We finna sell everything. I know kids out of school, it's Christmas time, folks gonna want to smoke. You know what I'm saying? So I went about dope. The very next day, after I spent all my money to buy this dope, thinking, you know what I'm saying, but then a few days I have it sold, and I go buy my kids Christmas presents and everything. The very next day after I bought this dope, my phone stopped ringing. I mean, like, at all. I think over the next week, I might have sold like 2 dubs. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm screwed because I done spent all my money. Bills was paid, but I ain't had nothing, and I had Christmas coming up, and I couldn't get my kids nothing for Christmas. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, what am I going to do? I got a closet full of, you know what I'm saying, dope, and I can't do nothing with it because nobody coming to buy it. So, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting around, and I kind of got depressed because I started realizing, like, I'm supposed to be this big bad drug dealer, and I can't even do nothing as simple as buy my kids Christmas present. Like, that just kind of messed with me. Like, so what am I really doing? So one of the dudes from my crew is this young white kid that was hanging out with me. I call him Roach because from next Friday, I call him Roach because me and him just smoke together all the time. And he ended up, at one point, he had dropped out of school because he felt school was pointless. And, you know, and I told him the only way he gonna be able to hang out with me is if he go to school because I don't hang out with losers. And this kid started going back to school. He was living with me, but he started going back to school while he was living with me and ended up graduating school with a 4.0 GPA. You know what I'm saying? So he come to me like, man, what's going on? And I told him, like, man, you know, I got all this dope and I spent all my money and we got Christmas coming up and I can't buy my kids Christmas presents. So he's like, man, I'll see if I can help you out. And I didn't know what he did was, because he was staying with me, his mom knew he was staying with me. And his mom kind of appreciative because she noticed that when he started staying with me, he started doing better in school and things. So he went and told his mom that, hey, my friend that I'm staying with, you know, because he's taking care of us kind of thing, that he don't have money to buy his kids any Christmas present. So his mom, what she did was she went and bought my kids Christmas present. So the day before Christmas, I'm sitting here stressing, wondering how I'm going to get my kids Christmas. And this lady pulled up in his minivan, you know, and backed into my apartment and opened up the thing, and it was a minivan full of toys, man. I'm talking like brand new bikes, game system. I can't remember what was out at the time, and I don't want to lie, but it was a brand new game system. Like everything that I wanted to get them, she had, and she just gave it to me. You know what I'm saying? And she really bought my kids Christmas. And when that happened, that humbled me. Because I'm like, I'm supposed to be this big bad drug dealer, and yet this little white woman that I barely knew, you know what I'm saying, had to buy my kids Christmas. So I really started questioning, like, what am I doing in my life? But, you know what I'm saying, that was all I knew. You know what I'm saying? I knew the hustling, like I said, because I was raised up around hustlers, and I had the hustling in Memphis, so that was all I really knew. So I'm like, well, what other option is there? You know, there is no other option. I'm already working full-time. I'm already going to school full-time. I'm doing work study. This is the only option I know. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first time my spirit started speaking to me. Now again, I didn't hear a voice. When I say spirit started speaking to me, you know that little voice in your head saying, hey, don't do this, or don't do that, or go do this, go do that. You know, we call it our conscience, but in reality, that's your spirit speaking to you, try to guide you to where you need to be. Because if you notice, whenever you ignore that spirit, something bad happens or something good that could have happened don't happen because you didn't go where you're supposed to go or you went somewhere you weren't supposed to. So my spirit started speaking to me, and it just kept saying, like, you need to confess. Like, it was just something that's telling me I need to confess. And I'm like, well, what do you mean confess? Like, because the thing was, everybody knew, you know, I sold dope. So it wasn't like I was hiding it or, you know, being secret. Anybody knew me, knew I sold, but some just kept on telling me to confess. So that whole week, again, I still wasn't selling no dope. I was still broke that whole week. My kids had a good Christmas, but that was it. And I was, you know, had bills approaching, and I didn't have no money to pay my bills. Rent was going to be due the first of the year. I had no money to pay my bills. So that entire week, the week of Christmas, that's all that, and in the days after, somebody just kept telling me, you need to confess. You need to confess. Confess. So I didn't understand it. And it got to a point where I couldn't even sleep, because it just felt like the sun was weighing on me. And what it was, I know now, I was under conviction. That's what it was, but I couldn't even sleep. So eventually, I'll never forget, it was December 31st, 2003. I'll never forget, it was that morning I was laying in my bed. It was about 2 o'clock that morning, and it got so bad, I'm like, all right, I'm going to confess. So I got up, And I went and sat at my table. I had a glass table in my living room that I broke my dope down on, count my money and all that stuff. I went and sat at the table and I just started writing. And I took out some paper and a pen and I just started writing. And when I started writing, what I was writing was everything that I knew I was doing that I wasn't supposed to be doing. The selling dope. At this time, like I said, me and my girl, we had been together. About this time, we had been together right at 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Had 3 kids together, and yet I was still messing around with all these other girls out there and things of that nature. And I just wrote everything down that I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing. So when I got done writing that letter, it was a 5-page letter. So like, all right. So I felt, it was so weird, and they say sometimes writing stuff down help you. It was so really, I did feel a little relief that I had got that off my chest. But then I'm like, all right, now I wrote this down. What am I going to do with it? And then the spirit again, I didn't hear a voice. It's just like, you need to send it to somebody kind of thing. And I'm like, send it to somebody. I'm like, well, who am I going to send this to? Now, I mentioned to y'all earlier that I was a Boy Scout. And the guy that was my Boy Scout leader, he was one of the people that was really, his name was Jake Allen. He was very influential in my life as well. And he was one that kind of helped keep me out of the streets as well. So before this, a couple of years before this happened, he had co-signed for me to get my first brand new car, which I got a Kia. He co-signed for me to do it. And for the first couple of years, I was paying the bill. But like I said, the more of my crew got, the more, I got into the drug business. I need my money for the drug business to take care of my crew. So I actually stopped paying my bills. I stopped paying my car note. And because he was the co-signer, he ended up paying for it. So for like the last 2-3 years, this man had been paying my car note. And I tell you, was such a low place I was and what a piece of crap I was at the time. I hadn't even called him. Like I didn't call him like, hey man, I'm going through a rough time. Could you take care of this? I didn't call him. When he had called me, I wouldn't answer. And this man had this car and he was paying my car note, and I wasn't even the man enough to tell him what was going on kind of thing. So I hadn't talked to him in like 2-3 years. And I knew he was upset at me because, like I said, he ended up having to pay my car note to keep his credit from going bad, kind of thing. So some told me, and he was my scoutmaster, but I called him my dad. He was like a dad to me, even though he was my scoutmaster, and I called him my dad. But he was very religious. He was very churchy, just kind of like my grandma, very religious, very into the church. He was very strict. He was all about obedience and everything. And he actually had a son that kind of went astray, and he kind of disowned his own son. So I knew, even though he called me son, I was just kind of adopted son. So I knew if he had disowned his own son for getting into drugs and stuff like that, what he imagine what he'd do to me. So, but he was the one that popped in my head. They were like, send it to him. So man, I get up, got an envelope, found the envelope and a stamp. I'm telling you, it's 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Find the envelope and the stamp, put it on the envelope. Put the letter in the envelope, put the stamp on it, put it in the mailbox. It was December 31st. Never forget, 2003. Put it in the mailbox. Went home, and for the first time in like a couple of weeks, I actually had got a decent night's sleep. It was like I did what I was supposed to do. So, got some sleep, got up that night, went to work, and everything, just normal. So then the next day, it was the first of the year, 2004, January the 1st. Man, my phone started blowing up. The very next day, my phone started blowing up, man. I mean, I had so many calls and so many people want dope. I guess for the new year, I couldn't even keep up with it. And all that dope that I had, that I thought it would take me a few days to sell out, I sold out in one day. The January 1st, 2004, I sold out that day. And sold out. So I sold out. I went and re-up, sold out the next day, and went and re-up and sold out again. I sold out 3 times in 1 week. So I had money just falling out my ears. So now my confidence is back. I'm like, yeah, I knew I was the man kind of thing. I don't know what that was, but So now, for the next, about the next 4 or 5 weeks, about 6 weeks, next 6 weeks, man, I was the man again. I had my swagger back, making all the money. I was confident, hooking up with girls and all that stuff, and everything was going good. But it was something else there. It was something else there. Everything was going good. But this time it was different because at this time, everything that I need to go right went right. Every time, like whenever I went back and read up, because sometimes you ever get into drug deals, sometimes you can't re-up. Like you'll be low, like, oh, let me go re-up, and something happened, your boy got called or he got low or whatever. But every single time I need to re-up, I read up. And every time I read up, I got better weed for cheaper prices. Every single time. Like every single time I went back, I got better weed for cheaper prices. I don't know how that happened, but everything was going good. So everything I needed to happen was happening. Everything I wanted to happen was happening. So I was like, yeah, I'm the man, I'm back kind of thing, So by this time, the guy, the Slick Rick came back and like, all right, man, you said give you a few weeks. It's been a few weeks. What you gonna do? We need to make this decision. And at the time, like I said, everything was going so good for me. I'm like, man, why bring this coke in? I'm making bukus of money now just doing the pills and the shrooms and the weed. So I said, man, look, I said, it ain't a definite no. I said, but honestly, right now, I'm doing good enough without the coke, bro. I said, but it ain't a definite no. He didn't. Of course, he's like, oh, come on, man. You can do. I said, I tell you what, it's not a definite no, but just give me a few more weeks to think on. I said, I'll tell you what, give me about 3-4 more weeks, man. And I promise you, I'll let you know what we're going to do, what I'm going to do or not. He's like, hey, man, stop BSing. We need to go and get on this. It's going to be spring before you know it. So about this time, one of his dudes, which is like his henchman, you would call him a henchman or whatever, one of his shooters or whatever, started hanging out in my house. You know what I'm saying? He'd come over to get some weed, and then he'd just kind of hang around and smoke. And the thing is, like I said, when we was at my house, we was kicking it. You know what I'm saying? We had girls in one room, you and boys and girls doing their thing in one room. You know what I'm saying? We over here on the Xbox, whatever. We kicking it. But this dude, he would sit there and he just smoke, and he just sit in the corner, wouldn't associate with anybody. You know what I'm saying? So the first couple times, like, all right, maybe he just shy, he don't really know nobody. But this went on for a few weeks. And then it started hitting me. My Memphis instinct kicked in. Like, man, this dude's coming over here. There's girls everywhere. There's drugs everywhere. He ain't really partaking in none. He just sitting there. I like, man, this dude is watching you. You know what I'm saying? My instinct kicked in. Like, this dude's watching. But at the same time, I was so arrogant and you know what I'm saying? I was so arrogant as well. I was like, who cares? He ain't gonna do nothing. You know what I'm saying? At this time, I had a pistol. I had this cool pistol. It was like a 45. It had like it was like something from a Nicolas Cage movie or something, because the pistol, the gun was chrome and the handle was pearl and the trigger and all the buttons and everything was gold. You know what I'm saying? So it was really nice. You know what I'm saying? Nice pistol. So I had that. I'm like, man, I dare him to try something. So even though I knew he was watching me, I still let him hang around because I was daring him to try something, because I was so arrogant and prideful at that time, you know, thinking it was nobody can touch me and what nobody can do for me. So this goes on again about 6 weeks. So this was the story coming in. So Friday 13th, never forget, it was February the 13th, 2004, and it was a Friday. So it was a Friday the 13th. And I never forget it. Everything was going so good for me at that point, man. Like I said, getting the girls I wanted. I had some pockets full of money. Everything I wanted, I had. And everything's so good. Now, the job I had, I was still working a full-time job, too. This I kind of kept my cover. I worked for the state. I was working this place that worked with mentally retarded people. I don't know what you call PC word today, but they were mentally retarded. That's what we called them back in the day. So, you know, and I worked through a shift. And basically what we do, we go in, you know what I'm saying, they go to bed around 10 and our shift start at 11. So we basically go in, when we get there, check them in the room, make sure they breathing or whatever. And all we had to do once an hour was just go check and make sure they were breathing and whatnot. And basically we got to chill for the night because they would sleep the whole time, just watching them, make sure, because some of them will stop breathing and they sleep. And you had to make sure that didn't happen. And then we'd chill. So most of the night we would sneak out back, smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? I'll bring my video game in. I can't remember when I had a PlayStation, Xbox, whichever one was the latest at that time. That was back in 2004. That's what I had. We'd sit there, we'd watch movies or play Xbox. You know what I'm saying? I had, I was living in Bellevue down in Nashville, so I had to hook up everywhere because everybody, you know, came and got weed from me. So I, you know what I'm saying? I had to hook up at the video store. I had to hook up at the pizza place that was out there. I had to hook up at the movie theater. So, like, if anything, entertainment or anything I wanted, I had, you know what I'm saying, at my disposal. I just called one of my people, like, hey, I need to get some videos to take me to work tonight, and they bring it through. You know what I'm saying? I would bring pizza in for the guys, you know, come in. We had a guy work. He was the manager at Papa John's. You know, I come to work with pizza and wings and cheese bread. I mean, I was the man, you know what I'm saying? And so most of the night we would sit there, like I said, smoke, play video games, whatever. And then sometimes we get into like these deep, like philosophical discussions or whatnot. So this particular night, I'll never forget, we was sitting around and we was playing cards and we were playing spades. And I was just in a good mood, man. I was just like throwing the cards and I was flipping people cards on, just having a good old time. And I remember one day, he like, man, you in a good mood tonight. He's like, what's up with you tonight? I said, man, I can't lie to y'all, man. I feel like I'm enlightened. And like, what are you talking about? I said, man, I feel like I'm enlightened. You know, what do you mean you're enlightened? I said, man, I don't know, man. I prayed to God a few weeks ago. And you know what I'm saying, said something to God. Like, since then, man, things been different. I've been feeling it's something around me. I said, honestly, I almost feel like God want me to sell dope. And when I said that, of course, everybody busted out laughing. And there was just one guy there. He's a white guy. His name was Randy. And, you know, me and him would have like little Bible talks from now and again, because I wasn't like completely against God. I wasn't living for God, nowhere near living for God. So we had these little Bible discussions. And when he heard that, he was playing his guitar. I'll never forget, he heard that, he stopped. It was like kind of move like ring. He looked at me, he was like, what did you just say? I said, man, honestly, I think God want me to sell dope. He said, why you say that? He said, man, that's the dumbest shit I ever heard. He said, why would you think God wants you to sell dope? So then I broke down like, man, look, this is happening. I'm taking care of all these people. Like I said, I had my crew. Everybody in my crew, they had somewhere to stay. You know what I'm saying? They stayed with me, or I made sure they were straight at their house. You know what I'm saying? They had food to eat. They had school clothes. They had all these things. And on top of that, because I told them if the only way they can hang out with me if they wasn't losers. Now, it was kids that was, all the kids that were selling me, when they first started selling for me, they was either dropouts on the verge of dropping out because their GPAs were so low or getting kicked out. As they started selling dope for me, they was being like honor students. You know what I'm saying? I had dudes applying to college. Like I said, my one boy partner, Roach, you know what I'm saying? He ended up applying to college, going to college and graduate with a 4.0 GPA. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to have an influence on these kids' lives, and I thought it was because they wanted to be like me. They wanted to be this big bad drug dealer like me. And I almost felt like Al Capone. I mean, not Al Capone, like Scarface. What was his name? Al Pacino and Scarface. What's Al Pacino? Yeah, and Scarface. Like I feel like that kind of thing. And because I was able to have these influence on these kids, even though I was being a bad influence, I also had a good influence. So I kind of explained that to the guy, and like, man, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm doing this for the kids. These kids are doing a lot better. Their lives are turned around. They're doing good in school and all that. I said, man, so I think God want me to sell dope so I can help these kids. And he said, man, that sounds good. He said, but I'm going to let you know right now. He said, God is nowhere near that. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, God is nowhere near that. I said, man, I said, well, I'll tell you what, bro. And I was, by this time being a little snippy with him, I said, well, I'll tell you what, man. If me selling this dope is going to help these kids have a better life, then guess what? I'll make that sacrifice. And the guy, he said, I tell you what, man. He said, that sounds good, but I'm telling you something about God. He said, God likes obedience over sacrifice. He said, yeah, you selling these dope and you making a sacrifice to help these kids out, but God rather you do what you need to do to be obedient to him. And he would never have you in a position where you're doing some stuff you're not supposed to be doing. He said, you're doing what you're doing because you're taking the easy way out and you want to do that. And you want to be big and bad in these kids' eyes. He said, because I'm going to tell you something. He said, even though you think those kids are hanging out with you and they want to be like you because you're selling dope. And it's funny that he said this, but it's the exact same. He said, I guarantee you, even if you were serving God, those same people will follow you. He said, because he said, one thing I've noticed about you, he said, you don't think highly of yourself. He said, you don't really understand your full potential. He said, but man, I'm telling you, he said, there's a light in you. He said, those kids are not attracted to you because you're a drug dealer. He said, they're attracted to you because of their light. He said, but your problem is you're running from that light and you're always trying to hide that light. He said, if you ever let that light shine, you can have an influence on a lot of people. So by the time, like, man, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Didn't think nothing of it. Didn't want to hear it. He was blowing my high. And then we just ended the conversation. Didn't think nothing of it. So at that job, you got every other weekend off. So this was my weekend off. So again, it was my weekend off. It was Friday the 13th. I never forget it. It was my weekend off. So I'm like, man, I'm finna go re-up. It was my day to re-up as well. So I had, it was payday. It was re-up day, my weekend off. So it was just a perfect storm to have a great weekend. Not only that, it was the day before Valentine's Day. So I went home, got home, took my shower, went re-up, and got ready for the day. You know what I'm saying? So I get ready for the day and didn't think nothing of it. But that line that man said, that Randy had said to me, it just kept lingering on my head the whole day. You know what I'm saying? Obedience over sacrifice, obedience over sacrifice, obedience over sacrifice. So I didn't think nothing of it. So the next day come around, it was Saturday, February 14th, which is today, you know what I'm saying? 18 years ago today, this happened. So it was February 14th, it's Valentine's Day. And that day, again, not to brag, but man, I had about at least there was 4 or 5 dates set up. You know, I had my baby mama, of course. I started off, I had breakfast with her. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then I dropped her off, went and picked up another girl. You know, dropped that girl off, went and picked up another one. And then I was going to end the night with my baby mom as well. She was like a sandwich. And I had these other girls in the middle of that. So that was the game plan for the day. And you know what I'm saying? I did the breakfast with my baby mama, hooked up with this other girl. So while I was out with this other girl, the dude hit me up. And his name is they call him Man G. So he hits me up. And he's the one that I was telling y'all about. He was one of Slick Rick's henchmen, so to speak. And he hits me up. He's like, hey, man, I need to get some bullets for my gun. But and he told me, he said, because this was Saturday, he said, I got some white people that I want to rob Monday. He said, but I can't get the bullets for my gun because of my record. And at the time, like I told you, I had a gun, but my stuff was legal. Like I actually had, at one point, I had my handgun permit. So, you know what I'm saying? So I can legally carry a gun around. So he knew that. He said, man, I know you legal and everything. Could you go buy go with me to get some bullets for my gun. Now, I'm smart enough and wise enough now because I'm certain Lord know, like, heck no, I'm not going to go get no bullets for you because I go get some bullets for you and you go out and rob somebody and ends up shooting and killing somebody, then I'm going down for a session because I'm the one to give you the bullets. But at the time, I was so far away from God and I was so arrogant and proud and again, trying to be something I wasn't, that I was like, sure, come pick me up. So he said, all right, man, we'll be through in a little bit. So I tell I cut the day short with the girl that I was with. And you know what I'm saying? I go back to the house. I go back to the house waiting to come pick me up. And it was weird because normally I never like, even to this day, I don't like riding with people. Like if I'm going to go somewhere, I like to have my own vehicle because if I don't want to leave or need to leave, I want to be able to leave and not have to wait on anybody else. But for whatever reason this day, you know what I'm saying, I decided I'm going to go jump in the car with these dudes. You know what I'm saying? Because they were like, man, don't worry about, you know what I'm saying? Because I think my brother needed to go somewhere at the same time, and one of my cars was down. I think that might be why I got in. I can't remember, but for whatever reason, I got in the car with this dude. So, you know what I'm saying? So he comes pick me up, and there's 3 dudes in the car. He's sitting in the back seat, and then there's 2 dudes in the front seat. And then I just jump in. So I jump in, and normally, when we hanging out, because this dude, he used to rap. And me and him actually did a song together a little bit later on down the road, but he used to rap. So, but normally when we get in the car, we smoke or whatever, and he like to bust some freestyles, and we just kind of joking. But it was just quiet. Like I got in the car, and they was like, "What's up?" And then they pulled off, but nobody was saying nothing. And it, right now, like I look back on it, it was really kind of tense in there, but I didn't even pick up on it because again, I was just completely oblivious of what was going on. So that when I got in that car, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I thought to myself like, this is kind of weird. And then that's when my spirit started talking to me. And once again, didn't hear a voice, but it was just words that started kind of coming to me for a song. And it was weird. And because I had never wrote a song before. So I had the day before, I had got wrote up for being late. Anybody know me know I'm always late for stuff. And I had got wrote up for being late. So I had this piece of paper in my pocket that I had got wrote up from being late. It was in my back pocket. And I always keep an ink pen in my pocket as well in case I was getting some numbers or something. I thought myself a little player. So I'm sitting in this car. It's eerily quiet. And we just riding. And all of a sudden, I just pull out this paper and this pen. And I just start writing. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't talked to these guys now. I was living in Bellevue, and the place we was going to get the bullets was over on Dixon Road. So if you know Bellevue, the area is about a 30, depending on traffic, about a 30-minute drive. It can be a 20, 30-minute drive, depending on how traffic is. So I'm riding in the back of this car, and I'm just writing. And it was so weird because like I was in a trance almost because I was writing. I wasn't thinking. It's just like my hand was moving, and I'm just writing these words. And then, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just there. So all of a sudden, we pulled up at this sporting goods store or whatever. And when the car stopped, it's like I kind of shook out of it. And the dude like, hey, man, we here. You going to go get the bullet? I'm like, yeah. And I looked down. And what I had when I looked down, I had a song. It was a full song. And the name of the song was called God's Will. And it had, I'm talking about 3 verses and a chorus. I wrote a full song, 3 verses and a chorus within that 30-minute drive. Just out of the blue. I had never written a song before, and not only was it weird that I had never written a song before, and I had this song, what the song was talking about. It was talking about God's will and how everything happens for a reason. All the good, the bad, ugly, everything that you go through happens for a reason. So I thought that was weird. I'm like, man, I ain't been in church forever. What is this talking about some God's will? Everything happens for a reason. So I'm like, whatever. So I ain't think nothing of it. So I folded the song up, you know what I'm saying, put it back in my pocket. So I go and the dude throw me the money. I get out the car, I go into the little sporting goods store. So when I walked in, the owner, he was standing behind the counter. I guess he was the owner. He could have been a worker. I don't know. But he was an older white guy. So he looked at me. He just gave me this funny look. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing here kind of thing. So I walk up to the counter, and I never forget, I said, man, I need some bullets for a 22. I think it was, I want to say 22 special. I don't even know if that's a real gun, but I know it was a 22. But it was some other word on the back of it. I don't know what the word was, but it was like a 22. So, you know what I'm saying? So I said, I need a case of bullets for a 22. And the guy looked at me, he said, nah. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? He threw me by surprise, like, what do you mean, nah? He said, no, I'm not selling you any bullets. I'm like, why not? I'm like, man, I got my money. I said, I got my hand. Because again, I had a license to carry a gun. I had a handgun permit where I can actually carry a gun on my side and it'd be completely legal. So I slammed my license down on the counter. I slammed the money down on the counter. I said, man, look, I don't know what your problem is, bro, but you need to sell me these bullets. I said, there's no reason why I couldn't get a bullet because he didn't ask for my license. He didn't ask me for anything. 22 short. That might have been what it was. 22 short. But yeah, because it was a snub nose pistol that he had. But yeah, that's what it was. Thank you, sister. Well, you always got my back. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, so I asked him for those the bullet. He wouldn't sell them to me. So I'm thinking, you know, like I said, older white guy. You know what I'm saying? At this time, I hadn't really had a lot of interaction with white people. So I'm thinking he just being racist. You know what I'm saying? So I started cursing this dude out. You know what I'm saying? Calling him everything but a child of God. And he said, sir, I tell you what, you got about 3 seconds to get out of my store. If you don't, I'm calling the police. Now, at the time, I had, because I didn't know if I was going to get a call while I was out robbing this dude. So I told her, I said, man, hey, if I get a call, you're going to have to take me to, you know, take care of my business or whatever. So, you know what I'm saying? So I had some dope in my pocket and I had some money in my other pocket. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what the dudes in the car had, because like I said, they was, you know, the thug dudes. So, you know, and them telling what they had in the car. So I started thinking about that, like, man, I don't want this dude to call police because we might all end up going to jail. So I grabbed my money and my license off the counter and I go back to the car. So I get out to the car. And the dude, man, he was like, man, where the bullets at? I said, man, I couldn't get them. He's like, why not? I said, dude wouldn't sell them to me. He said, man, you bullshit. He said, man, you got us drive all the way over here and you're not going to even get the bullets. I like, bro, I went in there and asked the dude for the bullets. The dude wouldn't sell them bullets. Man, that's a lie, bro. It ain't no reason why you shouldn't get the bullets. You got the lie. And I said, man, look, I said the same thing, bro. I said, I don't know why, but this dude wouldn't sell me the bullet. So, man, he just got upset. Like, I mean, you know, the Bible talks about how, you know, you see the countenance change. Like, his countenance changed. He just got upset. You know what I'm saying? So, and it just got real, like, aggressive. And then it made me get aggressive. So, I was like, man, look here, bro. I said, I came out here. I took time out of my day. I was supposed to be on a date right now. I took time out of my day to come help you out. I came, asked the dude for the bullets. He wouldn't give me the bullets. I don't know what to tell you. I said, but I know one thing. You better drop me back out this house before we have some problem. He's like, all right, man, my bad, bro. He said, it's just, man, I just really need that. He said, but I'll take it back home. So he took me back home, and that ended, you know what I'm saying, dropped me back off. Nothing happened. That was it. You know, didn't think nothing of it. So I went about the rest of my day, you know what I'm saying, went on a couple more dates. But because I had to go and do this, I had to cancel one of my dates. And I told the young lady, I said, man, look. And she was the main one, honestly, I wanted to hook up with outside of my baby mom. That's why my wife hated me to tell the story. But she was the main one I wanted to hook up with because I had never went out with her or hooked up with her before. So I told her, I said, look, something came up. Could we move our date to tomorrow, which was the Sunday night? I think we move our date to Sunday night. And she's like, fine, I ain't got no problem with that. I like, bet. I said, I have a little bit more time to hang out with you kind of thing. So she like, no, fine. So we moved. I moved that day. Like I said, finished up that Valentine's. Great day. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna get into the details of what all I did, but great day for my fleshly perspective. I say that, you know, great day. So this Sunday rolled around. You know what I'm saying? Me and the girl, she was supposed to hook up around like 8, 9 o'clock. I told her to come through about 8, 9, about 7, 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have some dinner, just chill. So since this, like I said, this is the main girl I want to hook up with, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I was trying to do something strange for a little piece of change. You know what I'm saying? So I cleared the house. I told my crew, because she was a college girl, like I said, smart, real smart, and I knew like she wasn't like the other girl. The other girl we bring through, they didn't care who it was. You know, we did what we did, and that was it. But her, I knew she wasn't gonna do nothing if I had a house full of people. So I cleared my house out. I'm like, look, everybody gotta go. I said, one of my dudes that I had selling for me, his name was O, and he actually had the apartment. He stayed on the 3rd floor in the same building. He stayed right above me, but on the 3rd floor, and I stayed on the 1st floor. So I said, man, look, y'all go up to O house, take the phone with y'all. So if we get some calls, take the dope with y'all, go up his house, and y'all sit up there and don't come back down here until I tell y'all to. So I come up there and get you and let you know whatever. You know what I'm saying? So and then, you know, the girl pulled up and they saw her car. Like, she pulled up as they was leaving, so they knew what car she was in or whatever. So she comes in. You know, we get to kicking it. You know, we eat or whatever. We telling jokes. And honestly, we just had a real good time, really good conversation. And I never forget, she was like, she's like, Judge, like, I really had a good time. I said, I'm going to be keeping 100 with you. Like, while we was watching, matter of fact, while we were watching TV, it was some preview came on for a movie that was coming out. And we both said, man, we would love to see, I'd love to go see that. And she said the same thing. It was coming out in 2 weeks. So, you know what I'm saying? So, we had this part of the conversation. She's like, look, I ain't gonna lie to you. She said, I ain't know how this was gonna go. And she said, honestly, I already knew your intention. You trying to get you some. She said, but I don't get down like that. She said, but I did have a great time. I wanted to come and see how you were because I can never tell when we had school together because we went to school together. She said, so I tell you what. She said, if you want to, we can go on a real date when that movie come out. Let's go see that movie together. So I'm like, bet. She said, I'm gonna get a phone call her in a minute. You know how y'all women do. She said, I'm gonna get a phone call in a minute. You know, I told my sister to call me so I have an excuse to leave or whatever. She said, but I ain't gonna do you like that. I'm gonna let you know it's up front. She said, but I do have to go do some stuff. I did tell my sister I'm gonna come pick her up. She said, but I do want to go out with you again. So she's like, let's go out in a couple of weeks. I'm like, fine, you know. So she told me and she left. So for the first time in forever that I can remember, I had my house to myself. Like I said, normally it was a party, everything was going on, we was kicking it. And that was the first time I ever had my house to myself. So I was like, man, like it was so weird. Like, man, what am I going to do with myself? And then again, that spirit hit me. I didn't hear no voices. I'm telling you, just like my heart talking to me. You're like, hey, won't you work on that song from yesterday? I'm like, yeah, that's weird because I ain't never wrote a song before. And like I said, I didn't even read the words. It's just the words just, I can't even explain it. It's almost like it was just dictated to me and I was just writing it down. I didn't read them. It wasn't no thought process I had. It was just, I was just writing. Stuff was coming to me and I was writing. That's all I can say. And it's definitely not to understand the Bible and how it worked. It was just definitely, you know, not to be sacrilegious, but there was the influence of the Spirit. You know, that's the only way I can explain it because it wasn't any thought process I was having. It wasn't like I was sitting there writing around, putting it together. It's just, this came out and I just wrote it. So, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, man, yeah, I'm going to work on this song. So I pulled a song out and I'm like, well, before that, let me get some inspiration. Because, you know, I smoke weed. So I rolled me up a fatty, you know what I'm saying? And I smoked about half of it. And I got about halfway through. I put it out and I sat down at the table and I had the song spread out before me. So now, I don't know if any of you upstanding citizens ever smoked weed before, but if the one thing about weed, it intensifies everything. Like whatever your favorite song is, it sounds that much better when you're high. You know what I'm saying? Whatever your favorite food is, it tastes that much better. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you just look at stuff, you get a lot deeper into looking at stuff. And that's why I used to like to smoke weed for the longest, just to help me have a deeper thought about stuff. And a lot of people use the excuse to this day to do it. But you know what I'm saying? At the same time, you just want to smoke weed. So, but anyway, so I'm reading these words. I'm high as a kite. And I'm reading these words, like I said, for this song that I wrote the day before. And man, it just started hitting me like a blow to the chest. And it was basically like my life put into a song form. Like it was basically my testimony as a song. That's basically what it was. You know what I'm saying? So I'm reading it. And as I'm reading it, my heart just started beating. Like, I mean, it was like pounding, like I can physically hear my heart beating. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then like tears started rolling down my eyes. And then next thing you know, man, I just got these chills like all over my body. And it was going from my head down to my foot. And it was just like, it wasn't a chill like, oh, it's cold. It was a chill like, man, there's something here. There was like a presence around me. And I didn't know what it was. I was just like, man, what's going on? So my heart beating and I'm crying. And then next thing you know what I'm saying? I got to a line in the song where I was talking about selling dope. And I never forget, I was talking about selling dope and I was going to change the line. So I had a pen in my hand and I was getting ready to change the line. And I had the pen kind of, I'm doing it up here, but it was like getting ready to put the pen on the paper. You know how you kind of have it like hovering over the paper. So I got this pen hovering on this paper over this line, but I couldn't put the pen on the paper. Like I was just stuck. So at first, my first thought like, man, there's some good weed. I'm so high, I can't even move, I can't even function. But no matter what I did, as I tried to put this pen to the paper, my arm would not move. And I'm talking about, at this point, I'm forcibly trying to push down, like with all my strength, to make this pen touch the paper, and it would not move. It like it was just suspended in midair. And then next thing you know, like I said, I just got hit with this wave of chills all up and down my head. Like it started in my head and it felt like somebody was kind of just rubbing my head like this. And then it went all down my back. And then all my whole body was just immersed in these chills. It just had these chills all over my body. And you know what I'm saying? Then my heart was beating and then I just started crying. You know, I'm like, what is going on? And then right at that moment, I had like what people call a near-death experience where your life flashed before your eyes. You know what I'm saying? That would have my life flash before my eyes, and I saw my whole life, and I saw all. But it was weird because I saw all the stuff that I had been through. I saw the molestation. You know what I'm saying? The times I had got beat up and jumped. You know what I'm saying? And all the times I could have died. I saw all the bad stuff. I guess I would say I saw all that stuff. You know, flash before my eyes. And I remember thinking like, okay, yeah, I lived that. You know, I understand I lived that, so no big deal kind of thing. But then it was weird. It's like it rewound it. Like the dream, it went back to the beginning again, and I saw all the bad stuff. But then I saw how God had brought me through the bad stuff. I saw all the times I could have died and I didn't die because God was there with me the whole time. It's just like that poem, the footprints in the sand. You know what I'm saying? When the man looked back, he said, man, it was 2 sets of footprint. And then when I was going to my roughest time, there was only 1 set. You know, and God told the man, like, yeah, that's because that's when I told it you kind of thing. So I look back, it's like it rewinded, and God showed me all the times, bad stuff that happened, all the times I could have died. And the reason why I didn't die is because he was there with me, protecting me the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So then, you know what I'm saying? When that hit me, it's just like I had a revelation, was like, everything really did happen for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I really understood that verse in Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. And as soon as I hit that, that's when the chills intensified. And I was just like, man, what is going on? And that's when my spirit started speaking to me as clear as day. I didn't hear a voice. I'm letting y'all know, I didn't hear a voice. I didn't see a light. It was just my heart was talking to me it was like something was talking to me from the inside, which I know is my spirit. And I was just like, man, what's going on? What is going on right now? Am I dying? And my spirit like, no, you're not dying. He said, you ask God to show up and show you that that he's real. He said, that tingling sensation you got all your body, those chills you got on your body, he said, that's the presence of God. He said, there's the Holy Spirit, the presence of the Holy Spirit, the presence of God. He said, so if you got something to say to God, you need to say it. So I'm like, oh, really? If God is in here, I got something to say. Let me get a sip of water. I'm like, oh, really? If God is in here, I do got something to say. So I took the pen and I threw the pen down. And the first thing I said to God, and this is not even bragging, this is just the honest God truth, this is how ignorant I was. The first thing I said to God, I said, man, F you, God. I said, man, you going to show up now and show me that you real? I said, man, you seen my life. You seen what I've been through. I've been molested. My mom's a crackhead. My dad's a crackhead. I've been jumped. I've been beat up. I've been robbed 2-3 times. I've had gun put on my face all the time. And I just had all this, you know what I'm saying? Every time I get ahead, I get pushed back. You know what I'm saying? I'm working my butt off. I'm working, 2-3 jobs. I'm putting myself through college. I'm taking care of all these kids. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm taking care of other people's kids. And I just had this long list of all this stuff that I was doing that I felt that God should have been rewarding me for. You know what I'm saying? And all the bad stuff that I had been through that I felt that God should have protected me from. I just had this long list, and I'm going through that list, and I'm just telling God off. And this goes on about a good 20 minutes, and I'm just going through the list, and I'm whining, I'm crying, and I'm got, you know what I'm saying, tears coming in my eyes. I'm just telling God, giving God the business, so I thought. You know what I'm saying? So I finally finished, and I'm sitting there, and I'm huffing, and I'm puffing, and I'm like, yeah, I done told God off. You know what I'm saying? I got that on my chest. And again, my spirit spoke to me like, okay, he said, you upset. He said, you got every reason to be upset. He said, honestly, you've had, he said, I agree, you've had a rough life. You've been through a lot of stuff. So you got every reason to be upset. I completely understand. He said, I just want to ask you one thing. And I said, what is that? You know what I'm saying? What is that? He said, what have you ever done for me? And when he did that, it went silent, just like that, like everything just got eerily silent. Because I wasn't expecting that question. I didn't even really know how to answer that question. You just like, what have you done for me? And it hit me, and then I got to thinking, I'm like, nothing really. You know what I'm saying? Like, it never really hit me that everything I was doing for myself. I was doing for people in my world. I was doing for everybody else, but I never did anything for God. So when he hit me with that question, it was like a blow to the chest. It just like I came to a realization that all this stuff that I've been doing, all this way I've been living, I was doing it for myself. I wasn't doing it for God. So he actually said, what have you ever done for me? And then, like I said, I just went through it and I thought, I was like, nothing. He said, exactly. He said, let me ask you something. He said, you working 2-3 jobs. Yeah, you working 2-3 jobs. You selling dope. You doing all this. He said, when is the last time you got on your knees and asked me for anything? Like, when the last time you asked me to take care of any of these problems that you're trying to take care of yourself? And I thought about, like, never. He said, exactly. He said, let me ask you something. He said, you're supposed to be a Christian. You went to church with grandma. You said you got saved when you was a child. You're supposed to be a Christian. He said, let me ask you this. When have you ever told anybody about me? He said, you got all the influence of all these little kids and all these young people. When have you ever told anybody about me? And when I thought about it, it was never. So God showed me that all this stuff that I was whining and complaining about and whining about, it was because of the stuff that I was doing. And then he told me, he said, and when I said never, he said, exactly. He said, see, that's your problem. He said, that's why you feel like you cursed. He said, I've been with you the entire time. Look how many times you could have died. Look how many times you've been in bad situations. Look how many times you've been in a situation where you didn't have no food in your fridge and I made sure you ate. Look how many times when you didn't have your water on or the electricity on and I made sure you stay warm and I made sure you stay hydrated. I've been taking care of you your whole life, but you've never done anything for me. He said, you've never done anything for me, and you've never asked me for anything. You've always felt that you can take care of things yourself. He said, and that's your problem, because all these times, this life you've been living for yourself. He said, and you know from the beginning, I've been calling you to do a work, and you've been running for me the whole time. He said, and that's why you have a problem, because you're living for your will, and you're not living for my will. He said, so I tell you what, you got a choice. He said, you can keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be dead by tomorrow, or you can start serving me, and I can help you bring others to me. So I was like, whoa. What do you mean dead by tomorrow? Like, that ain't something you just say you be dead by tomorrow and that's it. And I'm like, what do you mean by dead by tomorrow? He said, you know how yesterday when you went to buy them bullets and you couldn't buy them bullets? He said, the reason why you couldn't buy them bullets because those dudes were planning on robbing you and killing you. They couldn't get no bullets with a gun. They knew you couldn't. They couldn't take you hand to hand, fight you hand to hand. They wouldn't even try. Because I was way bigger than what I am now. I was way bigger then. He said they weren't gonna try to take you hand to hand. The only way they were gonna rob, be coming on to rob you is if they had that gun. And because they didn't have bullets, they didn't do it. He said, but had they got those bullets, they was gonna take you off. That's why he said that's why they was it was just you, because there wasn't enough room for anybody else to get in the car. That's why it was just you, and that's why it was so quiet, because they knew what they was planning on doing. He said, but because you didn't get those bullets, they couldn't go through their plan. He said, but I tell you what, they're still going to try. He said, when they told you they were going to rob white people Monday night, he said, no, they're not going to rob white people Monday night. They're going to rob you. He said, but the thing is, they didn't want to deal with your crew. That's why they wanted to get you by yourself and ask you to go get them bullets, and they want you to go by yourself. He said, but they still plan on running to your place Monday night, and if you don't make the right decision, they're going to run into your place Monday night, and when they leave, they're going to leave you dead. You know, so of course I'm sitting here telling y'all the story, and that was 18 years ago, so y'all know the choice I made. But a lot of stuff happened, and I don't get into all the details, but I basically had this conversation with God. You never heard a voice. It was just like my own heart, my own spirit was talking to me, and would just start showing me all these things, all these times that God had called me, all the work that I could have done, all the influence I could have had in other people's lives that I missed the opportunity because I was just worried about myself. God showed me all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And he showed me some things that was going to happen in the future as well. You know what I'm saying? He showed me some things that were going to happen in the future as well. So he gave me a choice. He said, you make that choice. So, of course, I'm just like everybody else. I said, well, I tell you what, God, if this is what you really want, then you got to do these things for me. I gave God a task list. Kind of like when Gideon told Lord, oh, we got to make this fleece wet and the floor dry. And then the next time, like, well, make the floor dry and the floor wet and the fleece dry. It was kind of like that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? I was just like everybody else. You know, I was still down. Like, did I really just have this conversation with God kind of thing? So I told God some things I want him to do to prove to me that I talked to him. And then the conversation finished. So when it finished, though, I still had like chills all over my body, and I still felt this presence around me. So right then and there, man, I just started praying. You know what I'm saying? I started praying, and I just started apologizing to God, because for the first time in my life, I knew God was real. So I just started apologizing to God. I just started apologizing. So I'm sitting there, and I'm apologizing to God for all the stuff I had done. And I'm just like, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And everything I could think of that I had done that was against the will of God, I apologized for. And I remember saying to God, like, I realize now I've let everything else get in front of me serving you. I put everything else before you. And I said, I guarantee you I won't do that again. I said, I promise you I won't do that again. I said, from now on, you are first in my life. You coming for my wife, my girl. You coming for my kids. You coming for making money. You coming for everything. I said, from this point forward, I'm going to put you first. Right as I said that, my brother comes in the door with the cell phone, because I told him to take it with me. And he comes to the door with the cell phone. And he see me sitting there with my head bowed. He didn't realize I was talking to God. But, you know, he see me sitting there with my head bowed, and he just kind of sit the phone beside me, and he said, yo, he whispered in my ear, your baby mama calling. And then he just went back out. It was weird. And the whole time I'm sitting there trying to pray to God, the phone is ringing. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm tempted to just pick it up to see what's going on, because I'm thinking there's something wrong with the kids. One of the kids got hurt or something like that. But then I realized, I was like, I just promised God I'm not going to let nothing else get in front of me and him. So I said, like, I'm going to keep on praying. And when I finish praying, talking to God, then I answer this phone. So I finished praying, talking to God, pick up the phone, and my baby mom, her brother was in town, and he was getting ready to leave, and she wanted me to say bye. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't even nothing major. You know what I'm saying? So by this time, you know what I'm saying, right after I do that, I hang up the phone, I'm sitting there, and I'm spooked, y'all. Like, I got this chill going all over my body, like I got it happen on the back of my head right now. I got this chill all over my body, And I just had this conversation with what I believe was God, and I'm just spooked. And I'm standing there, and my eyes is big like this, and I feel like I had just saw a ghost. That's what I feel like. I had just saw a ghost. So right about that time, my boys, they saw the girl car had been gone, so they came on back. So they walked in, and they just kicking in and laughing and stuff like normal do. And they see me, they like, man, you all right? And I said, no. They like, well, what's wrong? I said, man, I think I just talked to God. So they just started bust out laughing. They're like, wait, what are we? And see, right before they left, as a matter of fact, I had something I forgot to leave. I left out. I had got so bad that where I had the week or so before, I had started smoking heavies with them. Because again, I said I would never touch coke, but yet I had started smoking heavies. And if you know what a heavy Chevy is weed with some coke sprinkled on top of it. And the guy, they had rolled one before they left because we were going to smoke it when they got back. You know what I'm saying? So when I said that, I said, man, did you hit the heavy? I said, no, bro. I said, I'm dead serious. I said, I tell y'all what, this is what I want y'all to do. Now, when I got my pounds, I had regular weed. I wasn't into all the joke like everybody is now. I just had regular weed. So when I broke it down, I usually had about an ounce, maybe even an ounce and a half of shake. You know what I'm saying? So what I would do, I would take the shake with all the seeds and stems and all that, and that's what I would smoke. So I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, and I would seal all the buds so I can make my profit. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody ain't going to buy the shake anyway. So that's what I did. So I had, like I said, I had just read up, so I had like a whole ounce of shake. So I told my boys, I said, man, look, and I bought my cigars by the boxes as well. So I gave them a box of cigars. I gave them an ounce of shake. I said, man, look, y'all go roll all this. And I said, we need to talk. So they was like, all right, man, whatever. So when I gave them the weed, I went to my room, I locked my door, and that's when I first got wholeheartedly, humbly went to God. You know what I'm saying? I got on my knees, and I didn't ask him for nothing. I didn't ask him to show me anything. I just kept apologizing. Because my prayer had already got it in, I just kept apologizing, and I just started, again, anything that I could think of, I was just like, I'm sorry. Everything I knew I was doing, the girls I was messing with, even though God had already showed me that I was going to, you know what I'm saying, I had my wife, basically, you know what I'm saying, all the drugs I was selling, everything I was doing, not paying my bills, all the stuff that I was doing that I should have been doing, I was apologizing for. And I just got on my knees, and that's all I was saying. Everything I think of to apologize for, I can apologize for. So this goes on about a good 30 minutes or so, and my brother come knock on my door. He said, hey, man, he said, I don't know what you're doing in there, but, man, we done. He's like, you ready? I said, yeah. I said, just give me a second. So what I did, I got up. I went to the kitchen. I got a garbage bag. I came back in my room because I kept the dope and stuff in my room. And I went in the closet where all the dope was, and I just put everything in this big old garbage bag, like everything I had. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I had just read up. So I had a pound or so of weed. I had some ecstasy pills, mushrooms, like everything I had, I put in this bag. So I put in this bag, and I tied a knot in it, and I go up front. So my boys sitting down there, they still don't know what's going on. And I told them, I said, man, hey, y'all go ahead and blaze up. I'm not going to smoke with y'all. I just want y'all to smoke, and I want y'all to listen. I said, God got something he want me to tell y'all. Then they're like, all right, whatever. So they started blazing up, man. And I never forget, it was about 11:30 that night. It was Sunday night, about 11:30. And I started preaching just out the blue, man. I just started preaching at 11:30 at night. And I talked from 11:30 at night to about 7:30 that morning. 8 hours. This is almost 8 hours straight that I started preaching. And the crazy part was, even though I hadn't been in church in 6 years, and at this point, I had never read my Bible, I was quoting the Bible. That was the crazy part, like Bible verses. I was just pulling Bible verses out of everywhere. And excuse me, y'all. And I was telling everybody what God had said, showed me, and did everything. And like right now, I'm talking to y'all, well, that was 18 years ago. But that day, like I was like this. I was just like, hey, man, and then God told me this, and then God told me this, and God told me, and I was going so fast that like my boys thought, that's why they thought I had hit the heavy, because I was just like I was geeked up. But it wasn't because I had hit the heavy. It was because, man, I had just felt the presence of God. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just doing it, and I'm going. So I go for like I said, about 8 hours. So finally, I remember at the end of it, you know, my boy like, man, are you serious about this? I said, I'm going to show y'all right now how serious I am. So the guy that was about 3 weeks before this happened, the guy, he's kind of like my second in command. His name was O. You know what I'm saying? And he had came to me, like, man, look, no, I'm dropping out of school. He had kicked it with us so hard that he ended up having, I didn't know this because he was a grown man, you know what I'm saying? But he ended up failing school because he was always kicking with us, and he was from Arkansas. He was moving back to Arkansas. So a few weeks before that, he told me, like, man, look, I'm gonna have to move back to Arkansas, but I want to get in this dope game like you. You know what I'm saying? Could you give me on, hook me over to Connect and show me the game? So for the last 3 weeks, I had been kind of grooming this dude, so when he go back, he can kind of, you know, do his own thing. So he was there, and I said, never got. I said, oh, I said, man, look, I know, I promise you. I said, come up here for everybody. So I had him stand up in front of everybody. I said, I know, I promise you that I will teach you the game. I said, but I can't do that no more. I said, because I just promised God I'll never do this again. I said, but I will do keep my promise, and I help you get ahead in the game. I said, so I'm gonna give you this. And I put out that bag, that trash bag I had, and he said, what's this? I said, man, this is all the drugs I have on me right now. I said, there's a pound or so of weed in there. I said, some exit pills, mushrooms. I said, blower tabs, all that stuff. I said, everything I got here, you can have it. So I put the bag out. Now, of course, they think it is like some kind of test or something. So at first, you're like, man, I don't know about that, bro. And he's like, man, are you telling me I can have this, all this? I said, yeah, bro. I said, you can have it. I said, you can sell it. You can give it away. You can smoke it. I said, only you shove it up for all I care. I said, but only thing I ask, don't bring me one dime from it, because I just promised the Lord I'll never sell this or do this again. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, you for real? I said, I'm dead serious. So I put the bag out the second time. And when I put the bag out the second time, he saw I was serious about it, and he reached out and he grabbed it. And when he grabbed that bag, I let it go. And again, the Bible talks about a peace that passes all understanding. And when I let that bag go, it was like me letting go of my own will and all that negativity that I had accumulated all my life trying to do things on my own. And when I let that bag go, man, I felt for the first time in my life, I felt that peace that passes all understanding. And it was like, man, like literally, it felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders, man. I remember feeling, the feeling was so light, I felt like I was going to float away. I never forget that feeling. I felt like I'm going to float away. And you know what I'm saying? And when I let the bag go, not only did I get that feeling, it's like something came on my boys, and it's like their eyes was open. And like, oh crap, he is serious about this. So man, then they were like, man, how can we know God like that? So for the 3 days straight, y'all, I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, I didn't drink any water for 3 days straight. I preached for 3 days straight. Matter of fact, the only reason I stopped on the 4th day is because I lost my voice. Like I literally preached till I couldn't talk no more. And I was still trying to whisper to people. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I preached that much and so long, because what I did was I told the old dude, the guy, I told, I said, man, look, I'm not reneging on this. This is yours. I said, but I want you to do, I said, I'm going to set you up. This is what I want you to do. I said, hang out of my place. Whenever somebody call or come by to get something, ask them what they want, and then tell them they can have it for free if they listen to me preach. So again, he you know what I'm saying, it was free for him. Like, I bet. So that's what he did. And of course, some people, most of the people that came by listened, but some people, they just want to get their stuff and go. So he made them a little bit of money, you know what I'm saying? But most of my customers, all my customers that came by, just about, I would say about 85% of the people that came by, I preached to. So that's why I was preaching. And when I say preaching, I was just kind of telling what had happened to me the night before. I was telling my testimony like I'm telling y'all now. I share my testimony with them. But I did that for 3 days straight. You know what I'm saying? I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, I didn't drink, and I never got tired. I never got hungry. You know what I'm saying? The only breaking the action when I went to the restroom, then I came straight back. But I mean, I was just preaching for 3 days straight. And then finally, like I said, I lost my voice. And then finally, that 4th day, I went to sleep. I took a nap. I ate something, and I went to sleep. And I woke back up. My voice had came back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And ever since that day, you know what I'm saying, even though I hadn't fully made a decision yet, now, ever since that day, I've been preaching ever since that day. And like I said, that was Monday when I started preaching. That was the 16th. So the 16th gonna make the day when I actually started preaching, because I started talking to my boys first and I started preaching. So to go back, and I'm gonna tell you this last thing, because like I said, I try to compress it as much as possible, but it's just so much here. And this is why I want to let people know what happened to me. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what brought me to this side. Because I never imagined preaching or telling people about the Lord. Definitely not imagine being on Facebook telling people about Jesus. So that's why I always try to tell everybody what happened to me, how I came to be where I am today. So let's go back. I'm going to rewind back to Monday. So that happened. I preached 3 to 4 days straight. So now what God did, like I told y'all, I had asked God to do some things to show me that, you know what I'm saying, that he was real, and I really did have an experience talking to him. You know what I'm saying? So again, he had told me the dude, one of the things he said, he said, those dudes still going to come through Monday night to rob you. He said, but don't be afraid of them, because they have no power over you now that you, until you make the decision to serve me, I'm not going to give them power over you. So I go Monday, like I said, that whole day I preach. So it's about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. It's usually when I sit down, shut down shop. So, but I had been preaching that whole day. So, I sat down, shut down shop, but I was still preaching. I was talking to my boys, telling them all this new stuff that God had showed me. Like I said, quoting the Bible and everything. So where my apartment was, it was my front door. You come in through my front door, then it was like this long hallway, and we had the bathroom on this side. I never forget it. The bathroom on this side, my brother's room on this side, and then my room was at the very end of the hallway, which is the main bedroom or whatever. So I cut off all the lights up front, cut out everything, and me and my boy, we were just sitting in my bedroom, you know what I'm saying? And I was just preaching. They were just sitting around my bed, listening to me preach. And it was so crazy because it's just like the spirit was over me. Like I could not stop talking about God. Even if I wanted to, it's just like it was bursting out of me. So we back there and I'm preaching, I'm going at it, and next thing you know, I hear my front door open. Now, normally I never leave even if my kids tell you today, that's one thing I get on them about. I hate leaving my doors open. Being from Memphis, and that's one thing you do not leave your doors unlocked. So I always lock my doors because I didn't want nobody to run in there to rob us. But this day I wanted people to come in, so I wasn't even concerned with the door because I was so concerned with the message that God had gave me to give to the people that I wasn't even worried about it. So I'm sitting there preaching and I hear my front door open. And I remember I'm preaching, but I'm thinking to myself inside like, man, nobody's called to come out with no dope. Or, so I'm not expecting nobody who they could be. So I'm not even thinking like whatever that I see when they get here. So I keep preaching and I hear 2 sets of footsteps coming down the hallway. So I'm still thinking like, man, who is that? But I'm like, well, they get here and I can hear they getting closer. So I'm like, well, I'll see them in a minute. So I'm preaching. And next thing you know, I hear these footsteps right outside the doorway. So next thing you know, I look up. When I hear them, as the people coming through the doorway, I look up and there's 2 dudes in ski masks. One of them had a 12-gauge shotgun and the other one had a 22 pistol. And they both aimed them right at me. And they looked at me with the guns out. They were like, lay it down, nigga. So I'm sitting there, I'm preaching. I look over at these guys. I said, man, nigga, I already know who y'all is. Y'all sit down somewhere. I'm preaching. And I just went back to preaching like they weren't even sitting there. So they sitting there with the guns. And they got the guns pointed on me. And they looking like, hey, man, what the hell is going on? Because the thing was, and I think what messed them up the most, if you run into somebody's place, especially that late at night, and you got guns out, ski masks on, you expect the people to get up and, run around or freak out or something like that. Nobody moved, man. It's like, honestly, these dudes came in with the guns, and it's like they weren't even standing there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the only one that acknowledged them, and I told them to sit down somewhere. It's like they weren't even standing there. You know what I'm saying? Like, because everybody was so enthralled. The Spirit of God was on me so strong. It's like the dudes they was hanging on to every word I was saying. They were so deep into it that they didn't even blink at these guys. You know what I'm saying? So the guys standing there, nobody's paying them no attention. They standing there with guns, and they look like, man, what the hell's going on? You know what I'm saying? So finally, it gets awkward. They stood there about 30 seconds or so, 30 seconds to a minute. And then finally, like, oh, man, we just playing. So they pull off the ski mask, and guess who it was? It was my dude, man, from the day before that asked me to buy the bullet for 22. He the one had the 22. So he took the 22 and stuck it in the back of his pants. And then his other boy, his name was Joe Sean. He had the 12 gauge and he just kind of like set it against the wall. And then they kind of eased on the bed, sitting around with everybody else. And then they just started listening to me preach. So I just kept on going, you know what I'm saying? So I go for like another 20, 30 minutes or so, preaching like nothing even happened, and then finally I was like, hey y'all, we need to take a break for a second. I said, matter of fact, I need to holler at man. So I took the main dude, I said, hey man, come holler at me. So I took him into my brother's room, and on the way in there, I just said this little prayer. I said, Lord, you said you're gonna protect me. You said they ain't gonna have no power over me. I said, well, guess what? This dude still got the gun in his back. I'm gonna take him in here, I'm gonna lock this door, and I'm gonna confront him. You know what I'm saying? I know he was already coming here to kill me or whatnot. So I'm going to go in there and confront him. I'm not going to take my pistol with him. I'm just going to put my life in your hands. And if you really got this work for me to do, you're going to have to protect me. So I told man, I said, hey man, come here. Let's go in the room, smoke real quick. I need to holler at you about something. Because he thought it was because a couple of weeks before, he had got into it with one of the boys from my crew. So that's what he thought it was about. But he didn't know that I was about to hit him with that gospel. You know what I'm saying? So we go in there. I go and we walk in my brother's room and I lock the door. And we sit on my brother's bed, and you know what I'm saying? I had the blunt, one of the blunts from that had rolled earlier, and you know what I'm saying? I lit it up, and you know what I'm saying? I hit it. I didn't hit it like I was hitting it, but I really just blow the smoke out. I didn't really inhale it. So I hit it a couple of times, pass it to him. You know how it goes, puff up fast, and then I pass it to him. So we do that for a minute, just in quiet. We ain't talking, you know what I'm saying? It's just real kind of awkward. So about halfway through it, you know what I'm saying? I hit it one more time, and I pass it to him. I said, oh, yeah, here you go. I said, and by the way, I forgive you. And he said, forgive me for what? I said, man, I forgive you. He said, for what? I said, man, I know when y'all came in here, Y'all was really intending on robbing me and killing me. But it's all good, man. I forgive you for that. He said, no, bro. So he jumped up out the bed. He said, no, bro. We were just playing, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We just playing. I said, bro, first of all, you know I got a pistol. I said, you know what we do here. I like, who you know crazy enough to come in somebody's house at 10:30 at night with ski masks on with guns out? What if I would have shot you? I said, man, you could have got shot like that. You don't play like that. I said, nobody plays like that, bro. I said, when y'all came in that door, y'all was intending on robbing and killing me, bro. I said, but don't worry about it. I forgive you. He said, no, bro, you got me effed up. So, you know, so he got upset, like, no, I can't believe you accused me of something like that. You got me effed up. So by this time I got up and the heat started getting loud. And I didn't want the boys, my boys to come in because, again, I wanted to see what God was going to do. So what I did, I positioned myself in front of my brother's door. So even if they tried to Jimmy lock and come in, I was going to be standing right there so they can get in. So I had my back to the door and I just had my arms spread out like this. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, man, you know, so I just put my hands out. I was like, man, what you going to do? So he came, approached me and he just stopped right in front of me, like face to face. So we sitting here face to face and he got his fist in the air like he's about to hit me. You know what I'm saying? He about to swing. So I remember he's sitting there like he went like he's going to swing and then he just stopped. You know what I'm saying? So we standing each other eye to eye. He got his fist in the air like he about to swing. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, no, what you going to do kind of thing. So, man, we sitting there and we stood for like 30 seconds. And I remember thinking like, because I had already embraced for impact. Like I said, I wasn't going to fight back. I really wanted God to protect me, see what God want to do. So I wasn't going to fight back. So I had already embraced for impact. So I'm expecting him to swing, and he never did swing. So about 30 seconds go by, I remember saying, man, this nigga going to hit me at what? I clearly remember thinking, man, this nigga going to hit me at what? And right when I said that, all I saw, man, was a tear. One single tear came down this dude's face. You know what I'm saying? And when that tear came down his cheek and it just dropped from his chin, he just dropped his arm, bro, and he just threw his arms around me and just started crying. I'm talking about like boo-hooing. Now, you got to understand, this dude was like gangster. He was like one of those real gangsters, too. He had tats on his neck, you know what I'm saying, all over his face. He had, you know what I'm saying, been in jail, several times for robbing people. I mean, that's what he did. Like I said, he was one of the henchmen, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? But this dude just started crying like a baby. And like I didn't even know what to do. So I'm standing there, he got his arms around me. So I just kind of wrapped my arms around him. And he just started saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it was weird because it was the same way that I was saying that I was sorry when I was praying to God. And he just kept on saying, I'm sorry over and over. And I said, man, what you sorry for? He said, bro, I'm sorry. He said, man, I did come to rob you, bro, but I wasn't going to kill you. I said, man, look, I'm from North Memphis, dog. I like, you think this is the first time I've had a gun in my face? I like, man, you think I was really going to lay down just because you came here with a gun? I'm going to lay down everything I had? I said, up until last night, man, I was ready to die for this stuff. I said, but tonight, I'm willing to die for something else. He said, what? I said, Jesus. And he looked at me and said, man, how can I know Jesus like that? I said, bro, let me tell you. And, man, I set that dude down on the bed, and we sat there, man, and we sit there and talked. And I sit there and talked about the God with that dude for like 20, 30 minutes. And then we got through. He said, man, he said, once again, bro, he said, I apologize, bro. He said, I was so wrong. He said, but I tell you what, man, from this moment on, I want to be your right-hand dude. He said, you got any problem with anybody, man, let me know and I'll be there. You know what I'm saying? And then we hugged each other like brothers. And it was the first time, another thing I never forget about that moment, it was the first time that I had a man that wasn't part of my family, somebody that wasn't family, just a random man, so to speak, tell me he loved me. He said, bro, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. He said, man, I love you, bro. And I said, man, I love you too. He said, bet. So then he opened up the door. He unlocked the door and he walked out. And he told his boy, Yoshun, said, hey, man, let's go. And Yoshun like, man, what's up? He said, man, I'll tell you when we get in the car. And so Yoshun picked up his 12 gauge and they both just walked out. So I went back in there with my boys and they were like, man, what's up? I said, oh, man, they was coming to rob us, but we straight. And I just went back to preaching like it wasn't nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I preached. By this time, it was right at 12. So I preached a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And then I told my boys, hey, I need to do something right quick. And I said, y'all go up front. I'll be back up there in a minute. So they went up there, and I'll never forget, it was right at 12:58. It was 12:58, and I got on my knees, you know what I'm saying, 12:58, and right at 12 o'clock, I got on my February 17th, because this was Monday, so it was the end of Monday, February 16th. February 17th, I got on my knees at 12 a.m., February 17th that morning, and I got on my knees, and I told God, I said, man, God, I said, I'm sorry for not believing in you. I'm sorry for doubting. I said, I'm sorry for trying to make you prove yourself to me. I said, man, look, you ain't got to prove nothing else to me. I said, just that dude right there confessing, you showing that to me, let me know that what I do, this what I just experienced was real, and that you really have a calling for me on my life. I said, so I tell you what, from this moment on, my life is yours. I say, wherever you want me to go, whatever you want me to do, whatever you want me to say, my life is yours. I give my life wholeheartedly to you, and I will put you first from this moment on. You know what I'm saying? So February 17, 2004, man, I got on my knees, and I gave my life to God, and that's why I'm here talking to y'all today. You know what I'm saying? That was the day that started my Lost Sheep ministry 18 years, coming up 18 years ago. Today, it was 18 years ago today when I wrote the song God's Will, and it was tomorrow will be 18 years where the Lord called me to preach, and then Thursday be 18 years that I actually accepted God's offer and I started serving Him, and now I'm here preaching to y'all, man. And you know what I'm saying? And ever since then, man, I've been serving the Lord ever since. And a lot of people always ask, like, how did you do that? How did you go from being this drug dealer, having these girls and the money and all that, to, you know what I'm saying, to being a servant of God, just like that? How you give up all that, just like that? And I said, it was two reasons why. I said, one, because that night when God called me to preach and I felt that chill all over my body, I said that was the first time in my life I knew without a doubt 100% that God was real. And I knew that if God was real, then that means heaven is real and that's somewhere I want to be. But I also realized that if God is real and heaven is real, then guess what? The devil is real and hell is real as well. And I don't want anybody, especially anybody I've ever come across, I don't want anybody to go there. So I'm going to do everything I can to help people get to heaven. I said the second reason why I was able to do it and stick with it this 18 years, because you remember, y'all know, if y'all watch me, I'm talking about consistent. I've always talked about consistent, being consistent. And I told another reason why I've been able to do this for 18 years, I said because that night when I felt that chill on my body, it was the first time it ever happened. And ever since that night, every single time I'm preaching to somebody, I'm talking to somebody about God, or I have some kind of spiritual connection with somebody, I get chills all over my body. And it only happens when I'm talking about God. If I'm talking about God, or I'm in some kind of deep thought about thinking about God or something God has done, I get chills on my body till this day. And that happened 18 years ago. And if you read the Bible says, wherever there are two or more people gathered in my name, I'm there in your presence. And that's what God gave me that night. Again, I've never seen a light. I've never seen an angel. I've never seen a person. I've never heard a voice. But I do. Every time I'm talking to somebody about God, every time I'm sharing this testimony with somebody, and I know it's really touching their heart, I get chills all over my body every single time. And it only happens when I talk about God. And there's God showing me that I'm still here. I'm still with you. And I still got things to do. So that night, February 17, 2004, I got on my knees and gave my life to God, and I've been preaching His word ever since. And even right now, I'm talking to y'all right now, I got chills on my body. I don't know if it's Pat, you know, when I see, I don't know if it's somebody else that's not here, but somebody that's still just touched, because I just got the chills all over my body. And it happens sometimes. I get them all over my body. Sometimes I might just get them on the arm. And a lot of times I get it like on my head. It almost feel like somebody's like rubbing my head or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And like a lot of times when I go out knocking on doors on Saturday, matter of fact, this Saturday, I was out knocking on doors and I got talking to this guy. And, you know what I'm saying? I was, talking to him. Guy I had talked to, witnessed to several times before, never did want to get saved. And then also I just got the chills over my body. And it was like something just took over me. And I started talking to this dude. And he said, I went over the gospel with him. And when I got to the end, he said, you know what I'm saying? Man, I know I need to do it, but I don't want to do it just yet. And then I just got these chills all over my body. Something made me say, if not now, then when? And when I said that, it was like, man, it just hit dude in the heart. He's like, man, you right. He said, let's go and do it. He said, I want to do this right now. I said, no, don't let me force you into doing it. He said, no, man. He said, you're right. He said, I don't know how much time I got. I need to make that decision right now. And the dude ended up bowing his head and getting saved. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I do what I do. That's why I do it. And not only that, since that day, I've actually been living it. You know what I'm saying? I started reading my Bible. Like I told you, I started reading my Bible every day. I read my Bible. That was 18 years ago. And I believe up until this point, it took me a little while in the beginning, but I think I've read my Bible from cover to cover 15 times. You know what I'm saying? Since that day. You know what I'm saying? I started actually living it. And that's the thing. A lot of times we don't live it. We'll try it out. We'll dip our toe in the water. But if you want to serve God, you got to get in 100%. And like I told y'all, I do everything 100%. So that day, I dedicated myself 100% to serving the Lord. And He has blessed me since. You know what I'm saying? A couple of things He did. There's another little side story, like with my wife, the reason why she became my wife. Now, I told y'all she was calling me the whole time I was doing the praying to God. And you know what I'm saying, doing all this. So the next day, once I finally got settled out, I called her and I talked to her. And I'll never forget, God told me. He said, a matter of fact, when I was praying to him, he said, no, the reason, he said, your phone ring that is your baby mama and or girl, whatever. He like, and what she said is irrelevant. He said, but what I want you to do, I want you to tell her, I want you to when you get situated, do the stuff that I got you to do. And some stuff he asked me to do. He said, I want you to call her, and I want you to tell her everything that you've been doing, and I want you to ask her to marry you, and she's going to say yes, and I want you to marry her, and that's who I want you to be with. He's like, because you were about this close from losing her. He said, if you would have lost her, you would have been miserable. You'd never been able to do the work I have for you to do. He said, so I want you to tell her that you want to tell her everything you've been doing, confess it to her, then ask her to marry you, and she's going to say yes. So the next day, you know what I'm saying, like I said, I did my preaching, whatever, gave my life to God. So the next day, I never forget, I called her, and I'm talking to her, and I said, I remember calling, and I heard the kids in the background. I'm like, what you doing? She's like, nothing, because we weren't staying together at the time. And she's like, nothing, you know what I'm saying, just taking care of the kids or whatever. I said, well, because she was staying with her sister. I said, have your sister watch the kids, and I got something that I need to talk to you about. So she took her kids. I said, I need you to go out by yourself. So she gave her sister the kids. She went off to the room by herself, and I got to talking, and I did what God told me to do. I told her everything I had been doing. I told her how many girls I had been hooked up with since me and her had been together. All the time she thought I was at work, working late or whatever. How all the time I was really out with some other girl somewhere cheating. I told her every single thing that I had been doing. And then we got done, when I got through confessing, she was like, why are you telling me all this? I said, man, because God just called me to preach. And he told me that you're going to be my wife. You're going to be my partner in this work. You know what I'm saying? I can't start. We need to start. We're going to restart our relationship off on the right foot. And we cannot start off on the right foot if I got all this hanging on my head. I said, so I told you all this because if you can forgive me, just as God has forgiven us so many times, then I promise you that I'll marry you and treat you like the queen you are, and I'll never cheat on you again. And you know what she said? She said, go F yourself. And then she hung up the phone on me. And I was like, man, that didn't go, you know what I'm saying? I thought, well, God, that didn't go right. You know what I'm saying? That didn't go the way I thought it was going to go out. And man, she was like pissed, and she would talk to me for like the next day. And then, she would talk to me the rest of the day. I tried to call. She wouldn't turn my call. So I just went back to preaching. So the next day she did end up calling, and she had tears in her, I could tell she had been crying or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And we talked, and she like, did she like, I can't remember how she put it, but she like, something just came over me last night, and I just feel like I need to give you another chance. So we need to talk about this stuff. And we sat down, we talked about it, and at the end of it, she said, I will marry you. And the very that same day, she ended up moving in with me, and we've been living together ever since. I ain't been able to get rid of her ever since. It's been over 18. It's been 18 years. Coming up this Thursday, it'll be 18 years since my wife moved in, and we've been together ever since. And I've been able to be a father to my kids. I got something that my kids didn't get to see. I got to watch my kids grow. I got to spend time with them. Got to spend time with my wife. We built our relationship. And then, you know what I'm saying, it built on, complete trust and trustworthiness, because she whenever, even if I'm not at the house, I'm either at the house or I'm preaching somewhere. That's what I do. I'm either at the house or I'm preaching somewhere. And our relationship been so strong. And something else the Lord told me to do, again, guide me. Because now I'm like, okay, now I'm serving the Lord. I want to do things right. Now, at this point, this is crazy, but at this point, we had already been together for 4.5 years, and we already had kids. You know what I'm saying? We already had 3 kids. So I was like, whatever, Rez, why are you even on here? You know what I'm saying? You're on here eavesdropping. So again, we already had kids, you know what I'm saying? So the Lord told me, so I asked the Lord, I'm like, man, Lord, I want to do this right. I want to start this marriage out right. Should we continue to have sex outside of marriage? You know what I'm saying? Because now I know I've been doing it wrong this whole time, but now I know the right thing to do. Should I, you know what I'm saying, should I wait till we actually marry before we do it? Now I'm thinking we're going to get married here in a couple of weeks anyway, so I'm like, it won't be a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord was like, if you wait, actually I asked that question, and the Lord like, wait on it and see what I do for you. You know what I'm saying? And I remember going to church that next Sunday, and I asked the preacher the same thing. I said, man, look, I told him the situation, and I actually shared my testimony in church. And then after the preacher was talking to me, and I asked him that, and he said, man, if you wait, he said, see what the Lord will do for you. You know what I'm saying? So I sit there and told my wife, my girl at the time, that, hey, until we get officially married, we're not going to have sex anymore. You know what I'm saying? And of course she was upset, because she was like, you just sit here and told me all this stuff you did with these other girls, now you going to tell me we can't have none? And it was rough, man. And it turns out, because I gave my dope away, that was all my money, so we didn't have the money to get married. So this was February the 17th, when I kind of gave this half booty proposal, and we didn't end up getting married till April the 9th. So that whole time it was almost 2 months that we didn't have sex together. You know what I'm saying? And we had our moments where we get to kissing or something, then we almost went a little too far and I had to shut it down kind of thing. But I mean, we went up until we got married. We did not have sex again till we got married. And I'm so grateful. I think that really, that is the facts. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, but I think they really solidified our relationship because now it's built on trustworthy. She know I have self-control. And again, she know that if I'm somewhere and I'm not at the house, then, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Because if I'm not here doing what I need to be doing at the house, I'm out there in the world doing what I need to be doing for God. And it really has solidified our relationship. And it's, you know what I'm saying, it's built on trust. And we just really learn to trust each other and be here for each other. You know what I'm saying? I can, like, if I leave my phone at the house, you see these memes about guys leaving their phone stuff. I don't worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. She can go to my phone all she wants to because she ain't going to find nothing in there. And I'm not going through her phone. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what the Lord has done for us, and He gave us that relationship, that bond, to where we're the complete partners. You know what I'm saying? And I believe it's because of the decision that was made. I showed her that I can be trusted. She showed me that she can be trusted. And if she out there, and I've learned to depend on the Lord, she out there doing something she's not supposed to do, the Lord has shown me. And I know if I'm out here doing something I'm not supposed to do, the Lord will show her as well. And you know what I'm saying? So I got to watch my kids grow up. All my kids grew up healthy and strong and smart. You know what I'm saying? And I got this. Then next thing you know, I got that happened in February. In September, I got my first job as a chemist. You know what I'm saying? I've been working as a chemist almost 18 years as well. This September make 18 years. And every single thing that I need to happen so far has happened. Now, I will say, I don't always have great days. Everything don't always go the way they're supposed to. Problems still arise. But when the problems arise, solutions arise with the problem. Before I even do any effort, God, just like a problem will pop up and then a solution will pop up. God take care of it. So you still going to go through things. You know what I'm saying? You still going to go through things. You still going to have a problem, but God is there with you. And that's what I've learned. That's what God wants. We expect God to just open, I'm serving you now, God, and expect God to just open up heaven and just give you everything. And that's not how it works. But whenever you go through some stuff, God is going to be there with you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what serving Him is. He's going to make sure you have everything you need. You're not going to have your wants, but you're going to have everything you need. You know what I'm saying? There's all kind of other stuff, but I've already went 2.5 hours, so I'm going to cut it. But there's all kind of other examples things that God has done that show me that I really did have that experience with Him, and I was really following His will. You know what I'm saying? We ended up moving to Murfreesboro, got involved in a church there because the kids was going to Sunday school, and they got me back in the church. And you know what I'm saying? Ever since then, I've been in church for the last 12 years. I can probably count on my hand the amount of times I missed church. On two hands, the amount of time I missed church. And just everything just started falling in place for me to do the work that God has me to do. He always guided me where I need to be at. Not always where I wanted to be, but where I needed to be. You know what I'm saying? Just like when He came to this town, this is the last place I ever wanted to live, in this little country town. But since I've been here, my ministry has grown tremendously, and I've done more work for God in the 8 years since I've been here than the 10 years before I came here. You know what I'm saying? So God has guided me, and He's taught me how to follow His will. And He taught me that everything that you go through, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is all part of His will. You just got to be willing to accept your all things. So that's my testimony, y'all. It went a little longer than I wanted to, but again, I just wanted to get it out there and help y'all see that's what God did for me. And He can do the same thing for you. I don't care how far away from God you are. I don't care what you're doing. If you're living for yourself, you got to understand. That's why one of my favorite verses is, outside of Romans 8:28, is Matthew 6:33. You know what I'm saying? And Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these other things shall be added unto you." And that's exactly what happened. And that's why I tell people, that's why people relate to me, because I'm still John. I still, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like I don't like women like I used to, but I know the end of that road. If I go down that road, where it's going to end bad for me and my family, but more importantly for the ministry. I'm still the same person, but my priorities are different. Instead of going in this world doing things to satisfy my flesh and to satisfy myself and being selfish, everything I do is to satisfy God and His will, to live His will for my life. That's the only difference. I'm still the exact same person, but my priorities has changed. And instead of putting myself first and my wants first, and I put God's wants first and God's needs first. Whatever God needs for me to do, wherever He needs for me to be, that's where I'm going to be at. And that's what I did. So that's basically what happened in life. I started making God something instead of making God something I did if I had the time, instead of it just being something I did in my spare time, I made God my priority. And that's what I did. I changed. And that's what God showed me. He said, you are authentic. He said, that's why you went through what you went through. When I was questioning God, why did I go through this? Why did I go through that? He said, because I want you to go out and bring in my lost sheep. And the only way you're going to be able to do that, you got to be authentic. You can't go to the lost sheep if you ain't never, people that's going through drug abuse and going through molestation and sexual abuse and all these horrible things. And if you ain't never experienced and be able to bring them to me. He said, the only reason why you went through that is because I need you to go down there and bring those kind of people in. And they're going to be able to tell when you tell your testimony, when you use your testimony, when you tell your story, they're going to know it's authentic and it's going to draw them in. It's going to draw them into you, and then you can lead them to me. That's why you went through what you went through. And that's why my life verse is Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to them that love God, to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. And that's what God showed me. The reason why I went through what I went through and the reason why I had to do what I did is because he needed me to go through that so I can do the work he asked for me to do, which is to bring the other people, which is the majority of the world, to him because of my experiences. So that's my testimony. I hope y'all enjoyed that. If you have never heard it before, apologize if I went too long, but it's just, as you see, it's so much there. And I'm still living a whole lot out because I want to end this before it hit 3 hours. But I thank y'all for joining me tonight. Again, I pray that through my stories, through my experiences, and through the things that I went through, that you can see yourself in some of that. You might see yourself in the same similar situation and realize, hey, I'm in this situation because I'm not doing the things that God wants me to do. And that's the point. You got to get to doing what God wants you to do if you're going to be successful in this world, if you're going to get away from the drama and the chaos, but more importantly, if you're going to have that peace. It's all about following God's will for your life. So if you're interested in the song that I told y'all I wrote, it's called God's Will. If y'all got my, matter of fact, y'all know I normally do my announcement, but I have it on my YouTube page. I actually recorded it, and I will let y'all know. I wrote this song the day before God called me to preach. So it's a little rough. Got some cursing in it, but it's and that's what the Lord told me to do. He said, be myself. He said, you got to be authentic. He said, because the people that need to hear that song, it will help them. So if you want to listen to the song, you go to my YouTube page. It's one of the first things on my YouTube page. So you have to go scroll all the way down to the bottom. But if you go to my YouTube channel, it's on there. And my YouTube channel is God's Service / Lost Sheep Ministries. And of course, it's on there. And if you want to hear it, you can hear the song that the Lord blessed me with, that changed my life and started this whole process and got me here today. And just other announcements as I end, my normal announcements. If there's anything I haven't talked about already or any stories I haven't discussed already, y'all reach out to me and let me know, and I'll work them into my lesson plans. Next week, I'll probably be preaching this Sunday at the church, and then the sermon I do this Sunday at the church, I'll share with you guys next Monday. God willing, we still here. Continue to share the videos and tell others about it as well so they can hear this message, and hopefully it'll help them in their relationship with the Lord. And of course, if you're not sure about your salvation, reach out to me and let me know so I can schedule some time and go over the gospel with you and help you make the decision before it's too late. If you got any kind of spiritual counseling you need, anything that you're concerned with, Bible, that you're not 100% sure about, you got questions, reach out to me and let me know, and I will schedule some time to go over there with you as well. And of course, go to my YouTube page. You can check out the song that I was telling you about that I wrote, God's Will. It's on my YouTube page. I recorded it with my son about 15 years ago, actually. So it's old, but it's still a good one. And it's on there. And of course, you can catch any of my other videos as well. So again, I thank y'all. Sorry for being so long tonight, but that's just my story. That's what God did to me. And this Thursday, if I'm still here, I get to celebrate 18 years since this happened. Tomorrow, I celebrate them when I got the call. And then Thursday, I get to celebrate when I answered that call. So it's a very special time for me. And I'm glad I got to enjoy this time with you, share my experience and what brought me to where I'm at with you guys. And again, I hope that it'll touch your heart. If you're going through the same thing or one of the same thing, that it'll touch your heart and help you make the same decision that I made, which is give it all to God. Stop living for yourself. Stop being selfish. Stop trying to do what you want to do and do what God wants you to do. Find God's will for your life, and that's how you're going to be successful in this world. So I thank y'all for joining me. I'm going to pray and I'm going to get out of here. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much, man, for this 18 years of service. I thank you so much for this wonderful testimony you've given me. Again, like I said earlier, we defeat the devil by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. And I've seen time and time again when I had the ability to share this testimony with others, Lord. And of course, because it is here on my Facebook time, I go into a little bit more detail than I normally would do. But I've seen time and time again when I share this testimony and I'm talking to somebody that didn't want to even hear your gospel and want nothing to do with you. But by the time I got through sharing my testimony, they came to you in tears and asked you to save their soul, Lord. It's such a wonderful thing to be used by you, especially on the path I was on and the route I was going, knowing I knew better, still do what I want to do instead of doing what you wanted me to do. And I almost ended up in a dark place because of it. But because of your mercy and your grace, Lord, you came by and you saved me at the right moment, Lord, and gave me this opportunity to serve you. And I just thank you for this 18 years of service that I've been able to celebrate this week. So as you just watch over us as we finish up this night, be with all those that get to hear this testimony, if they're patient enough to make it through. I know it's a pretty long video, Lord, but be with them all, Lord. And I pray this testimony touch their heart. And if they're out there doing some things they're not supposed to be doing, or if they're out there and they're running from you, help these videos, help them see, bring them under conviction, and help them see how important it is for them to make the right decision, to put their faith and trust in you so they can do the work you have for them to do and live your will for their lives as well. Watch over us as we finish up this night. Keep us safe, keep us protected so we can have another day tomorrow to honor and glorify your holy name. We love you so very much. Thank you for all you've done and given. And I say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen. And thank y'all for hanging in there. I appreciate y'all being here as always. Sister Rhonda, man, you must be a glutton for punishment, because I know you probably heard my testimony like 80 times now, but it definitely encouraged me that you're always here. I appreciate you. Pat, thank you. I don't know if you heard it before, but I hope that helped you, man, as far as building your relationship with the Lord as well, and see where I came from and how I got here. And again, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to take some time, but you got to start somewhere. And the way to get there is about making God your priority and not just something you do if you get time. So I thank y'all for joining me. Thank y'all for hanging in here. So I'm in here talking to myself the whole night. I really appreciate y'all. I love you all. Remember to continue to watch, continue to pray for me. I continue to pray for you. And until we meet again, I love you guys. Always watch your back and pray. Love you. Y'all have a blessed rest of your night. Peace.